You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
This is Randy. In the future, all of our podcast episodes will be 14 seconds long, so we can post them in their entirety to Instagram and Snapchat.
This is Melanie. In the future, potential employers will check your like and follow ratings along with your credit score and criminal background, so be sensationally appealing.
And this is Jesse. In the future, you'll have to submit a background check for babysitters before you're allowed to have zombies chained in your yard.
Welcome to the Grawlix podcast. This is episode number 28.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Usagi, Yojimbo,
Yeah.
or Usagi, or Usagi. No, that wasn't one of them.
That's not right. No.
Usagi Yojimbo Volume 1, and then also we're going to continue Dead Air, and we're going to talk a little bit about The Walking Dead Volume 7, I believe we are on.
Yes.
How many are there again?
Well, there's a lot.
No, I mean in the book.
There's one
we
more.
have one more. Yep.
Okay, that's
One more in
where I was
the
figuring
omnibus.
it would go. Okay.
And then you'll have to start thinking about maybe which series we should tackle next.
Okay.
These times they are changing.
It should be something you haven't read yet.
Oh.
Or maybe you've only read a little bit of.
Oh, okay.
Because that way,
there's finally one that I haven't read that we're doing.
yeah, exactly. Oh, that's true, because you had read all of Swamp Thing before we did Walking Dead.
You're right.
Yeah, it has to be something you haven't read then.
Okay.
Or maybe something you've only read.
Because
like
this show's about
volume.
learning and growing.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Okay. But keep in mind,
Expanding our horizons.
I've been working like ridiculous hours lately.
Ah, you got time.
Yeah. I don't need sleep.
Yeah, but we only do these like spotlight series segments every other episode. So you'll have 2 months to read one volume of something.
Okay.
Or one trade or whatever.
All right. Well, make sure it's something that's easy to read then. Something good and snappy.
Well, but you get to pick it this time.
Oh, I get to pick it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
That's
I can make.
that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
it is.
I can make some suggestions.
Okay.
How far did you get into Invincible?
I haven't gotten any farther.
We could ride the Kirkman train longer, but we'll discuss that later.
Okay.
Next episode, we'll figure out.
Yeah, but you've
Stay
read
tuned,
that.
folks.
I have read Invincible, but we didn't say I couldn't read it.
That's true.
I had not read, as far as we've read in Walking Dead.
Uh-huh.
So far, I haven't read any of this stuff. This has all been new stuff
Mm-hmm.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to say I'd only read the first volume, maybe 2 volumes of Walking Dead, but we're well past that now. We're into uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Melanie's read it all.
Yeah.
Except for maybe like the one newest issue or something that,
Yeah.
you might be 1 or 2 issues behind what's currently coming out, but that's about it.
That's because
We're on a boat.
We're on a boat.
We're on a boat without maps.
Yep.
This boat is for real.
for real. Season.
Speaking of, I have not watched any of Fear the Walking Dead season 2.
I
haven't
didn't even
watched any of
realize
that
that
show
there
at all.
was season 2.
It just started, I believe.
Oh,
I
Yeah, I
wanna say-
think they're like 3 episodes in or something.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
Only reason I know that is like websites that I follow have been posting like, here's a synopsis for this episode. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, well, I didn't know that got renewed. I suppose it must be worth watching more than 1 season of.
It took
Well, I want to see where
maybe,
it goes. They're going to go on a boat. I was totally my prediction, and I want to see what they do with it.
and that's why I even mentioned it, because we're on a boat.
Yes.
And I have water zombie questions in my brain that
but I
need
don't
answered.
trust that show to answer them correctly.
That's possible true.
No,
So you fear The Walking Dead? Is that what you're saying?
I fear the.
No, I fear the waterlogged dead.
Well, you did see some waterlogged dead in The Walking Dead season 2.
Yeah.
The well zombie. That was pretty grotesque.
Yep.
That's definitely one of their like standout, gross out moments.
Well,
It was well hydrated.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Well hydrated. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Took a moment.
But I wonder, could they just float around and attack people on the surface?
They're
If they
not very
were-
dexterous, though. That's the issue. Like, I can't see one like.
That would be great. That'd be great cinematography. Like, okay, listen, I want you to do the worst doggy paddle you could possibly do, and we got to do this quick because your makeup is falling off, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be a whole nother pain.
Mhm.
If you guys want to see what happens when you put zombies in water, you have to watch. It's been released as a couple of things. Zombie, spelled with just an I at the end, or Zombie 2, or it might have another title, but it's an Italian American produced zombie movie from the 70s, and, or maybe early 80s, but I'm pretty sure it was still 70s, and zombie versus shark, straight up.
Well,
Really?
isn't
Pretty
this like
awesome.
That's
loosely connected to Romero somehow?
It's like an unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead.
Okay, I thought either you or Dave Bell had told me some of this because that's where I get all my horror information.
I may have mentioned it on this show at some point in time before because zombie versus shark is pretty spectacular. It's hard to forget that.
That sounds epic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, if you put that all in a tornado,
Oh,
Oh no!
wow,
zo-
you break the internet.
Sharknado of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that a thing yet? I'd be surprised if it's not.
yeah,
Probably will be now.
Mhm.
yeah.
In fact, the second sequel's coming out next week.
Yeah. On sci-fi.
Yeah, of course. Okay. So, what kind of pizza do we want to talk about for our introductory bit here?
Oh boy, we got all sorts of pizza, don't we?
Yeah, okay, you just did a convention last weekend.
I did a convention. It was in Lincoln, Nebraska, called Constellation. It was their seventh going at that, and it was a small convention, but I got to make some really interesting connections with people. It was fun.
Now,
I was on a panel. Oh boy.
you were, what? You did a panel?
The day one, they were like, "Hey, we need some people to get on this panel with our guest of honor." And the guest of honor was, I think it's Ron Spencer. Pretty sure it's Ron Spencer. And he's an artist for, his claim to fame, or what people probably know him most for, is that he did artwork for Magic the Gathering cards.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
Nice.
I see.
And looking at some of them, I was like, hey, I have that one. I should have actually brought him to the show.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Hmm. Yeah, and
So,
we could have had him and the lady who wrote for the cards.
No,
hang out
she wrote for something else.
Oh, was it?
You're thinking of, werewolf or whatever it was. Vampire.
The book
yeah,
that we have
oh yeah,
on our shelf somewhere.
Sarah,
We
yeah,
don't have it, I don't think.
Yeah, we do.
the Vampire, the Masquerade.
Vampire the Masquerade.
We had her on.
No, we don't have it.
Whose book do we have then? Never mind. That's just beside the point. Let's go on.
You're talking about Sarah Rourke, right, from After Daylight?
Uh-huh.
Is that-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we do have her book.
See, I knew what I was
Yeah,
talking
we have her book. I thought you meant the books that she had wrote before.
No.
Like the game books, the tabletop
Oh,
game
no.
books. Okay, no. I was confused. You confused me.
I'm sorry, I'm
You
confusing.
Bewildered me.
I'm female. It happens.
And you've bewiled me.
You should know what's going on in my brain
Bewild.
all
Beguiled.
times, because that's how I work.
Okay.
We don't have charts.
What were we, what were we talking about?
We were talking about the convention.
Convention.
in Lincoln.
Oh, yeah.
I was,
You
and
did
they
a
got,
panel.
Yeah, I got pulled in on that panel, and like I like to be able to think about things before I talk, and here I am up on a stage trying to think and not be terrified. And it's not even like a bunch of people. It wasn't like a huge full room or anything, but no, it was fun though. I mean, like the way that Ron would talk, he reminded me of like Sam Elliott in the way that he would
Really?
speak. He would just speak in little short, kind of concise phrases, and he had that timbre to his voice. We're like, well, all right, I see how this is going to be.
That's pretty fantastic.
I don't know. I don't have a Sam Elliott impersonation, but like just kind of that, I don't know, short to the point, kind of concise method of speaking. And so there I am. up there with a couple of other artists. There was about 4 or 5 of us up there. And it was like real awkward at first. And he still kind of like got the ball rolling, but he was like, unless you guys ask us questions, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our favorite part of the grocery store. Mine is, and he just started that way. And I was like, oh, okay. I like chips. So that was day one. That was interesting.
Hmm.
And then, we just basically did our dealer room thing, and it was a good time. It was definitely a well put together convention. They've had 7 years, so they've gotten very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the promoters really take care of people, and you can tell the people who come to the convention really look forward to it. So I had a good time. So if you're interested in Constellation, I'd recommend it.
Now,
it's kind of like Ozfest. I would compare it to Ozfest a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Ozfest is like elementary school or something, and then in junior high or high school, then they'll like have bigger classrooms, and like you have to move from your blocks, but they'll stay,
well,
or I don't know if you guys had blocks, but we'd have like block 1 and block 2, and this is where they'd be on this day, but then the next day, whatever.
well, Ozfest when we went was how many years had they been doing it?
Oh, I can't even remember.
Was it like their 3rd year or something?
Something like that, I think.
Was it? Huh.
Maybe
it was, like,
second?
Really only second? I thought it, maybe.
I think they'd been around for a while, but I couldn't tell you.
Eighth?
For a fact.
I don't know.
And that's in the show notes for episode 6 or 7.
I think 7. I think it was episode 7. We did our Ozfest 7 Ozfest 7!
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it really?
It was 7 because
And this is Constellation 7. It seemed like it seemed very much like, I think these people talk to each other. Like I saw some people from Ozfest at Constellation, and I thought,
you're going to have people listening, like the promoters of Ozfest be like, elementary school.
Well,
elementary.
Grawlix podcast. Check banned. I'm kidding.
well, I'm just saying,
Step up your game.
No. I'm just.
Or you'll be standing on the wall at recess.
We're all about making beef now.
I haven't even been
Or pork.
to a larger
Bacon.
convention,
Making bacon.
but making bacon pancakes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Make a bacon pancake.
This is a
Bacon. Put them in a pancake.
This is a focused show, if you can't tell.
We eat pancakes.
I had. They wanted. We had a pancake breakfast to raise money for a family at my work, and I had not donated. I have large containers for food with lids on them. They're like buckets, but they're food buckets.
Oh yeah, you let them use your food buckets.
And they had 3 of these buckets, like 5-gallon buckets of batter or whatever you want to call it. And they only used 1. And they were like, "So do you want to take this home?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'd be eating pancakes for like 3 years. Why would I want all this?"
Oh, they wanted
ridiculous.
they wanted you to take the pancake batter with it back?
Yeah, and so we gave it when we took it down to the open door mission.
Oh yeah, that's a much better use of it.
Yeah.
Oh god, I'm not that big of a fan of pancakes for
I'm
something
not
like
really
that.
either, even if they were bacon pancakes.
I like the syrup aspect of pancakes.
And that's probably the part that I like. I don't like it. It absorbs too much of it, and then it makes me queasy.
It's because syrup's super sweet. It's probably not good to eat.
And
that
I used to chug it when I was little. I used to hide it under the table and chug it.
That's why Canada has free healthcare.
Yeah, they need free healthcare. The whole country would go broke if they had to use it.
So now we've got a beef with Australia and Canada.
That's okay. The Canadians will just be like, "Hey, that's not nice,"
Okay,
and then they'll be done.
you're probably right. But okay, I'm going to move along. I'm just going to keep pushing this forward just because.
Yes.
So that did, in a weird way, remind me of, I want to give a shout out because we have a new show on the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network.
Yeah.
And what reminded me was the beef with Australia and Fat Boy and Captain Llama. And
Yeah.
who, those guys are great. They took our guff very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they sent me a sock monkey, so.
That was a creepy sock monkey too.
Yeah,
they
it was.
found the creepiest sock monkey picture online, which is pretty impressive.
And Randy made me look at it.
It was even creepy for me, and I like sock monkeys. I think they're cool.
Yeah. He's like, "Hey, Melanie, come here. Look at this." What? And he's like, "Ah!"
I'm going to be honest. I think I had no opinion on sock monkeys until I discovered how horrified you are of them, and then they became cool.
They became more endearing.
Yeah, then it's like, you know what? These things are all right. I like them. There's one in
I would
the
hang out
closet.
with them on a
I
Saturday.
know. I put them there.
How do you feel knowing there's always a sock monkey in the closet?
As long as the door is shut, I feel fine.
Okay, anyway, so
If
this
that door suddenly popped open for no reason,
right now, it's
leave.
right behind me.
I'd be gone.
Standing right behind you.
It's even open a little bit. It wouldn't even have to push past undo the handle off, the latch.
Creepy monkeys.
Okay, enough of this. What I was going to say is we had a new show join the podcast network. Listener, as you know, we're part of this podcast network. You hear it at the beginning of every episode.
Yep.
And there's there might be a bit of a fan listener overlap in subjects here. Pro Wrestling Iowa podcast.
Woo!
Yes. Yeah. Welcome.
And
It's a good show. I listened to the most recent episode and I enjoyed mightily.
Yeah, I listen. I don't follow pro wrestling, so I don't know like anything about it beyond the vague recollections I have of like 80s stuff.
Yeah, that's
when I was a kid.
I used to watch wrestling when I was a kid. And
Yeah.
not since I was like 11, 12.
So, I referred this to Jesse and Brandon over at the Technology Geek because they're my resident pro wrestling experts. But I did take a listen to it myself, and it's a good show. Like, they obviously know what they're talking about.
Yeah. They had some great, like future predictions basically for, next year's WrestleMania, which, after hearing them, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board for some of those. Let's make those happen. WWE. Come on, Vince McMahon. Listen to Iowa podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's Pro Wrestling Iowa. They're next door neighbors to us here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe we could, combine
now
for a show.
okay, I don't know what I would contribute to a pro wrestling podcast myself. I know Jesse could have some input. In fact, Jesse was on the Technology Geek not long ago to do an episode all about pro wrestling.
Yep.
But it wouldn't be inconceivable to actually like talk to these people in person. But then again, Jesse lives far closer, and we've only ever done one episode, maybe 2 episodes with Jesse in person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd play him a Randy Savage song.
yeah.
Yeah.
It would be fun to do like, one big EMC Google Hangouts thing where everybody
I would
just
love
gets
it.
on and we just riff.
And actually, with the Pro Wrestling Iowa guys, they're most likely in the same time zone. So,
we wouldn't mess that up.
We wouldn't destroy that.
We've been notorious for that. Yeah.
If you've ever been a guest on any of my podcasts, you know I'm not very good at that whole thing.
Yeah.
The hardest was trying to line up with Fat Boy and Captain Llama, because they are literally on the other side of the globe.
Isn't there like an app for that or something?
You know, there probably is, but I tried to find it. Like, there should be a website that simplifies that.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm here, they're there.
And if there's not, you could make a mint off of podcasters. Somebody needs to get on that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's out there. I think we just tried to do the math manually and we were off by an hour, as we often are. And it's like, oh, yeah, an hour does make kind of a difference.
Yep. And if you're talking a difference of 10, 11 hours time zone,
Yeah.
at least we were kind of close, but not
It was
close
like
enough.
it was like middle of the day for them. We were like, yeah, we have things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so Pro Wrestling Iowa podcast. You can check them out at electronicmediacollective.com. Also, I believe their website is prowrestlingiowa.com.
That sounds right.
And,
Yes.
And
I can confirm that for you. Yes.
and they're awesome guys. And it's been awesome having them as a part of a network.
Yes, we appreciate it. And I will take your word that they're awesome because, once again.
You've had no interaction with them or anyone online ever.
Pretty much.
But they also do like interviews with the local wrestling promotions too, which was a lot of fun. I listened to. They had, what was it? Just Incredible or
Mhm.
Just Incredible or something.
Justin Decent.
Just Indecent. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
And that was a really fun interview. So there's a lot there. They talk the big WWE stuff, and then they talk the the more local scene too. So
I didn't even know we had a local scene.
there's actually quite a few. Yeah.
Wow. I know we have roller derbies, which I thought was amazing when I found out. I'm like,
Yeah.
roller derbies, I want to do that, but I don't really want to do
Punching
that.
on roller skates. That's awesome.
Yeah. I slam people into the wall all day long.
I actually have a promo that I'm going to drop in for their show.
Mhm.
So listeners can like actually hear the guys' voice and stuff and let the guys
there
explain it. I will drop that in later in the show
Okay.
because
Surprise us.
I'm not ready for a break yet. So
Yeah.
but when we take a break at some point, I'll drop it in.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'll just randomly spring it on you.
And
Well,
no.
I feel, like that's how pro wrestling works. It's just like out of nowhere, somebody from your stable will come in with the chair. Oh my God, with the chair to the back of the head.
Yep. And you'll be like, oh, I got hit in the head. And I'll be like, yeah, we're peeing. We'll be back.
We're on break now.
Cut to the Jumbotron. Watch the Jumbotron. Watch the replay. Never mind the men and women behind the curtain.
Ignore me.
I love that.
All right. What else?
We have all sorts of social medias.
Oh yeah, man.
We talked a little bit about Instagram, I think, but
Mhm.
now we're on Snapchat too.
Now we're on Snapchat. Snapchat is an entirely different beast, but I'm enjoying it. I actually find I've been on Snapchat more than Instagram lately.
Yeah, almost more than Facebook even.
You've been on it a ton. He keeps showing me, look at Louis, get this.
Louis does things? What?
Oh yeah, Louis does stuff. He's not.
I added him, but I don't ever see it. Does he do anything on his story?
No.
Louis is my brother, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about this.
Louis not super active on there. Like I sent him a randomly harassing video, and it took him a couple days before he replied. But his replies are gold. So
Yeah,
you just got to harass him and wait a while, and he'll get back to you eventually.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
But and he doesn't post stories. I could see the appeal to having a bunch of people on there that you know.
Mhm.
Like that's what makes Snapchat. And right now it's mainly Jesse and Brandon I talk to on there.
Mhm.
Which makes it worth it. It's fun. But yeah, it's very different because you can do public things with your story and publish those
Mhm.
other people can see them, but it's very strange and it's a much smaller world of like social media interaction than something like Twitter or Instagram or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, and yet there's people who are really big on Snap too, and so like I feel like a dabbler right now. And this is like the second time I've tried Snapchat, and this time I'm actually like, oh, I kind of get it now.
Mhm.
Whereas before I was like, I don't get this. This is not for me.
Do you ever find yourself taking pictures of your computer? Because Randy does.
He knows I do.
Oh yeah,
Usually if I take a picture from my computer, it gets sent right to Jesse.
yeah. And actually, the first time that you did that, I was just like, oh, that's clever. I wouldn't have thought of that.
If Jesse, honestly, I think if Jesse wasn't on there when I got on there,
Mhm.
I think I would have abandoned it right off because he's who I talk to the most.
Mhm.
Well, still, but like, I didn't have Brandon, like, I didn't know if Brandon was on there and there wasn't really, anybody else on there I talked to, but I talked to Jesse and then I found Louis and Brandon's on there
Mhm.
and,
Savannah.
and a couple of my sisters are on there. And they don't post a lot, but I occasionally just will send them random videos of me harassing them like I do everybody else.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's cool.
It's a clever tool for video harassment, ladies and gentlemen, and you can find us on Snapchat. Just look us up on the Twitters, and you can see our Snap code and add us to the thing. I do a lot of stuff with my story. You do a fair amount with your story too.
I do a little bit. I don't. If I'm at work, I'll just kind of fire some random videos off and throw them into my story. You've done some really clever things with your story, so I'd like to kind of plot something out sometime. But yeah.
You give me far too much credit because they're not really premeditated.
Well, yours come together in a clever way.
Like the one day I found this string mouse outside the door to my room, and he became the character that recurs from time to time. I named him Frank. I have a string mouse, ladies and gentlemen. See, this is scintillating. You can't get this on other podcasts. We talk about our Snapchat feeds and our string mice.
Yep.
I am slightly tempted to get on just because I want to look and be jealous of Jesse's art room because look at all those art supplies.
Oh yeah, I did.
It's a closet.
I sent.
It's
yeah,
literally a closet,
but it's full of art supplies. I showed her that.
It's ridiculously full of art supplies.
I was like, Melanie, you're gonna like this. Look at this.
That's what I want. I want that in my house.
It's art supply porn. That's what my Snapchat is.
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, ooh.
There's even a drying rack up there towards the ceiling, which I can't use because I don't have a real room.
What is that?
Like, hey, people are like, "What's that cage up there?" I'm like, "That's where I put naughty children." It's not a cage; it's a drying rack.
That's where
Where is it?
But also Instagram. Although I think there's actually a couple days I missed it. I've been posting just daily Batman cover images, but Jesse's actually been doing.
Yeah, be careful, guys. There's this shady character.
He's real shady.
Like hanging around my Snapchats and on our Instagram channel. This today, Grawlix guy. I think he's mostly harmless, but I have zero evidence to support that. He may not be harmless at all.
I know he likes camo and has a
he really likes camo.
A loose grasp on the English language sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. And he likes to harass Danny O'Mani from our good friend Ben Kruger's Instagram channel. So Ben, I'm sorry.
Danny O'Mani.
There's strange people that harass on our Instagram that harasses Ben's strange people on his Instagram.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's a thing.
It's a whole thing. I mean, you're really just gonna have to visit it to figure out what we're talking about because trying to explain it here is just a rabbit hole we don't have time for.
If the look on Melanie's face is any indication, we've lost the audience just as much as we've lost her now.
Well, if you want to get harassed, this is the place to be. Instagram, Snapchat, look us up.
Well, if you give us access to like 14-second video clips, that's all we can do. What else are you gonna get? What do you think you're gonna get out of us?
Yeah.
Instagram, both me and Jesse have our own individual, but you can also find Grawlix Podcast. It's Grawlix Podcast, same as the Twitter account. And then Snapchat, I'm under there as my name. If you follow me on Twitter, it's the same handle. And Jesse is Laser Keeper.
I'm Laser Keeper.
Which is pretty good.
I think I had two. I think I had one before and I have no idea what that was. So I made a new one and every time I tried to enter a username, it was like, this one's already in use. So I was like, Laser Keeper. No one's going to use that one. I was right.
It's pretty good.
It is good.
It's a good username. Yeah.
It sounds like a tool.
It sounds like those old pseudonyms that people would go under when the internet was brand new and no one used their name.
Yeah.
We were like, I'm Geotrix 47.
Yep.
I was like, oh, Laser Keeper. Wow. Way to bring it back to the 90s there, Jesse.
Hand me that Laser Keeper. We need to cut through this door.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
We have to reverse the polarity on the Laser Keeper so we can get out of this trap.
Yep. All right, moving on from social media. I guess we could talk about, I know there's more we could talk about, but maybe we should insert one of our normal comic book segments in here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we could probably get the show started.
40 minutes later.
Oh, boy.
What's up?
Nothing.
Okay.
Oh, wow, we have a new, well, I don't know if we're ready for this, but poll list, we actually have a winner.
We do. Good.
That's new because, like, I think I checked this morning and we still had a tie.
Yeah, we had a 3-way tie as of an hour, maybe 2 hours, an hour and a half ago.
Somebody was like, "Oh, they're gonna do the podcast tonight. We better hurry up and vote."
Yeah. Good. Somebody's Johnny on the spot.
All right. Our poll list pick. So before we talk about this month's poll list pick, Jesse's going to hit us with the selection for next month, which you can always vote on at grawlixpodcast.com. We have it in the sidebar, or go to the reading list or poll list page on our website.
Mm-hmm.
And you can vote on what we read next.
And it's chock full of stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you can also add new stuff, but
there's a lot of good stuff right now.
At this point, I'd rather have you help us break those 3- and 4-way ties than add something else. But
yeah. Oh man, because we've got a winner, then we've got a tie for second, then we got a third, and then we got a 1, 2, 3, 4-way tie for the next, and then a 3-way tie for the next second. There's like so many ties happening here.
And we don't want you to game the poll, but you can vote on it once a week, so you can vote on it more than once.
Yeah. So. When our winner, I don't remember. This wasn't even on the list last month, so this skyrocketed.
Ooh.
It is so. Our winner, bearing the lead here, our winner is JSA: The Golden Age.
Oh man, Brandon's gonna be disappointed. He was
he was the winner. I mean, like he was at the top with his Star Wars.
Oh man,
pick for a long time. And then all of a sudden,
the JSA came.
This thing came out of nowhere.
Sorry, Brandon. I know you were pushing for it.
So the golden
but it's highly likely for next month because it's still in second place. So
JSA. So that's wait, did you say JSA?
Yeah, JSA. So is that
Justice Society of America? It's a DC thing.
Well, I figured.
The Golden Years. I looked up a little bit of information about what was in our top spots, and I don't know too much about it. I know it's written by, I believe, James Robinson, who's done some good stuff. In fact, I believe he was writing the New 52 Earth 2 book for a while, and I was really enjoying his run on it till he got pulled off kind of abruptly for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But I think he's better known for other things, so.
So this is volume 1 of the JSA title. So JSA, for people who don't know, is the characters that were like the Golden Age characters, but got pulled back into the normal DCU pre-New 52 after Crisis on Infinite Earths. If I'm right, if I'm not completely messed up.
That sounds about right.
That's how I understand it. So,
well, did they
52?
Were they the pre-New 52 Earth 2 characters then?
I think so. Yes. Okay.
Which would explain why they put him on.
But they were also they were in the normal Marvel U after Crisis.
DC, yeah.
Pulled them in. Like they were Earth 2 for a long time, and then Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, and then we got all those characters.
Okay.
If I'm not, because that's why you have Jay Garrick in the Flash books.
Oh, I gotcha. What were you going to say, Melanie?
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you have any examples of these characters?
Oh, he just did it, yeah.
Okay, so like Jay Garrick, who else? Is Jessie Quick from Earth 2? She's in JSA later on, I know. Also, like Wildcat, who is actually a really terrible character on Arrow. So, this will be interesting. I've never read this volume. The only JSA I've really read has been connected to an event or they did a like Kingdom Come tie-in thing.
Oh, okay.
In the JSA I think it was right before the New 52 happened. And I was really interested to see what they were going to do with that because they pulled in the Kingdom Come Superman and they dealt with that only in JSA. So I was like, okay, I got to read this. This is weird.
Well, cool. I'm interested to read this. So that is what we'll be reading next episode. We'll be talking about that because people wanted it. People voted on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll do it.
Mm-hmm. And
it wins votes.
Yep. But this episode, we're going to talk about, there was a little bit of debate about the exact pronunciation, and I basically decided, we're terrible at pronouncing American names, let alone foreign names, and I guess I apologize beforehand. So,
yeah.
Usagi Yojimbo.
Yes.
That's how I would say it. That's how I have been saying it.
Right.
This was, of course, recommended on the poll list. They just had Usagi Yojimbo down on the list, so we ended up picking volume 1. There were a couple options. There was, what was it called? Grass Cutter, which is considered like a fantastic volume. But the general consensus is the series is consistently fantastic. So I was like, we decided let's just do volume 1 then.
Mm-hmm.
So we read Usagi Yojimbo volume 1, The Ronin. And hold on, I bet I have information about this.
Oh boy.
As I sometimes do. Yeah, book 1, The Ronin. I believe it was originally published in 1987, and it is by Stan, is it Sakai?
Sakai.
Yep. Who we've talked about a little bit in the past. Jesse has met this person.
Yeah, he's awesome.
I
think he's coming through Omaha again pretty soon.
Really?
Yeah. Be on the lookout for that. Hopefully it didn't already happen.
Well, I don't want to give spoilers on our review, but I'm a big fan now, so.
He's an awesome guy.
I've been a
Very
big
nice.
fan since a month ago. No, yeah, I was when this got picked and I was looking into, well, what is this? And I was like, oh man, this seems right up my alley.
I had an action figure of him when I was a kid.
He appeared on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah,
And
and sadly that's really how I know him.
Yeah.
Before this now, but
that's what got me. Right? He's like, we're gonna read this and Ninja Turtles. I'm like, Ninja Turtles, what? Huh?
Well, and Rabbit Bodyguard.
Well, yeah, that is pretty cool.
And that got you too.
Yeah, but
So this is taken from the kind of introduction at the beginning of the book. It perfectly sets up what this book is. The saga of Usagi Yojimbo, Rabbit Bodyguard, takes place in turn of the 17th century Japan. The age of civil wars has barely ended, and the shogun have just established power. The samurai is the ruling class throughout the land, following a warrior's code of honor known as Bushido. It is a time of settling unrest and political intrigue. Wandering across this country is a masterless samurai named Miyamoto Usagi. Or Usagi.
Usagi.
Yeah.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Flows better off my
And-
mouth.
Off your mouth?
Yep.
It flows off your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
and this had like 10 chapters.
Yeah, it lists 10. I want to say one of them was a 2-parter, but yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
lists 10 chapters. And I have not a breakdown of what happens, but I have notes for each chapter a little bit, or at least brief notes.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to tackle it that way, we can, or we can just start with general impressions, or how do you guys want to approach this one?
I can.
Yeah.
I'll give my general impression.
Okay, what is your
First.
general impression?
I enjoyed it, and I was telling you,
Mhm.
it reminds me a lot of Samurai Jack.
Mhm.
And I watch anime, so it has a similar feeling to a lot of that stuff that I've watched there too.
Mhm.
And I enjoy it all, so of course I enjoyed this. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, I enjoyed this quite a bit. And as I've already said, I was excited going into it because I like the genre that
Mhm.
this works in. I like samurai movies, and
Mhm.
I like that certain time period. I used to say for a long time, not that this time period is like fictional, but in terms of fictional work, people like, I'll probably lose geek points here, but people are like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons and, this certain fantasy, whatever period. I'm like, I never really got into that. And I was like, no, this period of like Japan, that's the cool, like, that's my cool, like ancient setting.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So,
Well, that's kind of it. I think if you weren't already interested in it, it might, or hadn't already been exposed to it, maybe
Mhm.
it might be weird for people because it's like instant. This is the culture and this is the way people behave. And this is,
Mhm.
like when I was younger and would watch or read Japanese things, people are like grandma to people. I'm like, that's rude. Calling some lady you don't know grandma.
Oh,
God.
no.
But then, you're like, oh no, okay. You come to understand it,
hmm Yeah, and that's something I really like about that setting is like watching movies that take place in that setting,
Mhm.
and reading this is snippets of like the culture and just things people would do at that period in time.
Mm-hmm.
I always fascinated me. So
Yeah.
I like the setting, and I always found the Ronin and the samurai thing interesting, and just the social structure is
Mhm.
very interesting to me.
The Ronin thing has always kind of confused me a little bit because it's like if you're a masterless samurai, aren't you supposed to commit seppuku because that means you failed your master?
Yeah, it's weird because it's definitely like Yeah, I don't know, because they don't always, obviously, or else you wouldn't have.
or you wouldn't have a Ronin. Yeah.
Yeah. But either way, they're definitely like a disgraced samurai.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what the defining thing is, like, well, you have to kill yourself now.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I guess you'd have to be disgraced in some way. I suppose if you could lose your master in an honorable way, then you're a Ronin.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And he still, even when he died, he like went and, what did he take his head or something?
Took his head and buried it so that they couldn't, like, the enemy couldn't get it and parade it around and disgrace his master. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, he did his duty.
So
in a form.
Sorry. So, Jesse, your general impression, your first impressions or whatever.
I really liked it, and in particular, the art style is, I mean, he's a master of this kind of pen and ink. The patterns, it's incredible. Like, you look at his, the patterns on, like, fabrics and stuff, he just goes to town on that stuff. I mean, like, you look at, whenever they do some kind of zoom in on, Usagi's, well, I don't know what you call that, a gi or a tunic or whatever, his shirt. He's got all these little dots, and he does them every time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like, textures and patterns. Hello.
And listener, if you don't know, you probably do. You probably know more about this than we do. But if you don't know, Usagi Yojimbo is written, and all the art, it's all Stan Sakai. And he's done it, consistently. It's an ongoing since the 80s. Yeah?
Yeah, 86 or 87, whatever you said.
Yeah, since the 80s he's done it. And it's still going from what I understand.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
I think
he just released one not too long ago. I think it's been through Dark Horse for a good portion of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, you can find a lot of this. Actually, I want to say you can find the entire run through Dark Horse's digital service. And they even have the stuff before Dark Horse picked it up, which I think it was, I'm terrible.
Fantagraphics or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just looking at the cover, and I think that's what it was.
So you can get this all on digital, and then I want to say it's all, if not almost all of it's available physical through Amazon, if not Dark Horse directly.
Right.
But yeah. So yeah, this collects several stories.
It hits the ground running too. Like, this first story, it just goes boom right into it.
And I was surprised to get, like, it really balances well. Like, this first segment, it's called The Goblin of Woo.
Not the Goblin of Woo.
The Goblin of...
We're just going to call it the Goblin of Woo.
Woo was my expression.
John Woo.
Sorry.
It's John Woo's Way the Gun Goblin.
No, it wasn't Woo.
Of Adachi Gahara?
Oh, holy crap. Adachi Gahara?
That's what I had. That's how I would say it.
It's a goblin story. And it really, like, this first story is fantastic because it is its own little, like, contained, like, here's a little tale. It's kind of novel. Mm-hmm. But it also gives us Miyamoto's backstory, a little bit of his backstory about how he became a masterless samurai.
Yeah. And it's weird in a way too, because it's like he's telling something that happened a long time ago, or like just a little while ago. You can't really tell. And that's good.
And yeah, cause he doesn't look very old, but then again, he's just a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
But that lady is an old woman.
Yeah.
He comes across an old woman. There's just, man, it's really a good opener because they do the thing where he's telling the story to this lady, and then it goes to like a close up on her eyes, and she's got this like look. I don't want to say devious, but kind of devious, angry look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, oh wow, this is actually like, I don't know. It's just really well handled. And it turns out her husband had fought in that same battle on the other side. And it's this whole thing, and it kind of goes an unusual way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, without, I don't know how to approach it without spoiling it, really.
Wasn't the goblin guy? I thought he was supposed to be on their side, and then he betrayed them or something, and that's why.
Yeah, something happened which turned him into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he started eating people, apparently, which I guess that's what happens when you don't kill yourself after you disgrace yourself. You turn into a goblin, a cannibal goblin.
You could be a Ronin, or you could be a goblin.
Or a goblin, naturally.
Yeah.
But that was also interesting because like the beginning of it, you're like, okay, well this is, I mean, okay, so they're like animals. It's, what is anthropomorphic?
Yep,
Animals?
that's it. Yep.
I was gonna say anamorphic. That's something totally else. But it was handling it like the story's like very grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was goblin talk. So I was actually surprised when a goblin actually showed up. I was like, oh wait, there's actually going to be like a little kind of supernatural bend to this too.
Mm-hmm.
And at times there are. A lot of it's pretty grounded in the story, you know. But yeah, I thought this was a great opener to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And the next story in it was, if I'm just going to keep going if we don't have more to put on. Okay.
Yep.
Lone Rabbit and Child. And my phone needs to stop. Lone Rabbit and Child. And here we get an introduction to, is it Tomei? Amy?
That's how I pronounce it.
Tomei?
Yeah. Tomei.
And Noriyuki?
Noriyuki, yeah. That's how I'd say it too. I don't know.
And Haikiji. But this is where we start to get like an actual kind of ongoing plot that threads itself through a couple of the stories throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
Not every following story revolves around it, but it comes back a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't resolve itself, so I'm assuming it continues on as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's a thing going on a little bit in there. You know?
There's a thing.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and it's, you know, it's this, and then you also start to really get the political intrigue
Mm-hmm.
in how that system works and corruption and,
mm-hmm.
you know, this guy trying to take over this guy's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the right terms for it.
Province or
Yeah.
With the clans and various things.
daimyo, something. I don't know if that's how it's set up.
And this is a classic kind of samurai type story.
Mm-hmm. There's always corruption
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot.
This is, I think this one in particular, was the first story where it was like, okay, Miyamoto he's taking some people down. Like, cutting heads off, and I mean, like, just killing people, or rhinos, or whatever animals.
Killing animal people.
Yeah, just killing them. And it's interesting because, you know, he can do it, and he can do it in a way where it's like, it's graphic, but it's not gory.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like, there's not like blood sprays all over the place. Not that he doesn't use blood, but like when he does it to show that someone's wounded.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if he's gonna kill a man, just boom, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like, and I like how it's handled. I like the artwork of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised because it's brutal, like it's hardcore. It's like you said, Jesse, it's not, I'd say it's not gory. Like
right.
there's occasionally you'll get like you said, you'll get some blood or he'll take someone's head off, but it's not in a gory nature. It's just like,
I think that's one of the things that makes me think of Samurai Jack the most. I know they're not robots, but you know, he would just run by and like, and then afterward they would just like slide apart. And, you know, it wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I really liked is that there are moments and that'll come up later again too, is where on the comic book page with you know, the ways, sequential art works, still being able to get that kind of, you still get that kind of feel out of the fights.
The feel of the movement.
Yeah. And it's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's very cool. And some of the pages, and this is really where we start to get some of the pages. I guess it happened in the first story too, where there will be some panels which are more straightforward, a little bit more minimal with a character there. And then you'll get certain panels, particularly during battles throughout this whole book, where like there's just so much detail and there's so many characters and there's a lot going on. And there's almost constantly these weird little small dinosaur looking creatures on the ground running around, you know, just little animals and stuff.
Like wrapped around the tree or something, yeah.
That don't necessarily have anything to do with it, but they're there. And there's
like bugs too, like a grasshopper just like chilling out on a little leaf there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of detail like that.
Yeah.
Some panels are just full of stuff and it's like, whoa, look at all this like going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of that comes out during the battles.
And I like when it doesn't happen always, but occasionally there'll be like smaller boxes on the panels or whatever.
Smaller panels?
Yep. Well, yeah. With like zoomed in kind of to give you more detail usually on the fights, I think.
Cool panel layouts and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also get, I'm assuming one of the, we get, like I said, introduction to, is it Haikiji?
He's kind of the main bad guy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in this, he's a human bad guy.
Oh yeah, there is a human bad guy, isn't there?
Now, I was very surprised by this because I didn't think there'd be any humans. There's actually, I want to say like 3 humans in this. There's 2 that he interacts with, and then I noticed one in the background at some point. And apparently, Stan Sakai regretted, he after the fact regretted making him a human.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And apparently the rest of the series, he wears a mask and you like never see his face. And and he said he doesn't plan to show his face
Ever.
Again.
Is he gonna be, he's like the Shredder.
Or at this point he doesn't have plans for that. Or he doesn't have plans to use that character much anymore. I don't know, but yeah.
Maybe he's like Cobra Commander now, where he used to be a man.
Yeah.
I was once a man.
And his like right hand man, so to speak, was a snake.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And seeing the snake in the like, okay, so you've got rhinos and rabbits and all kinds of, they're standing up wearing people clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the snake still in like total snake form wearing people clothes,
Mm-hmm.
that amused me a little bit.
Yeah. It's like double and triple wrapped in geese or whatever.
But yeah, that human bit I found interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he regretted doing it, so
Makes sense.
Kind of like how Kirkman regretted chopping off Rick's hand.
did he?
Yeah,
I bet it makes writing difficult later on. Not.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the things that he cites about liking the show a little bit better is he can fix some of those things that he considers mistakes.
I don't know. I think it makes him a little more, bad word.
Yeah, but from a writer's perspective, like I'm assuming he probably come up across a bunch of things. He's like, oh, and then Rick can do this. Oh, wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how many times
More
I
challenging.
was like, oh wow, look at what Rick just did, except Rick can't do that. God.
Okay.
But anyway, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, sorry.
The confession. The next one is the confession, and here I just wrote the plot thickens. We get more of this story. We get basically Miyamoto comes across a confession that ties Haikiji.
Something like that.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say that name with a question mark every time.
Every time.
It ties him to the assassination of Noriyuki's whoever
Predecessor?
Yeah,
or?
predecessor.
Yeah. Would that be his father?
I'm not sure how. I would assume maybe, but I'm not sure how that works. And then I also have that Miyamoto and Tomei have fun, are friends, because I like this bit. And here we get it's basically you get to see more of the corruption in the political system and just kind of how far it goes. We don't get to see the Shogun, but it goes like right up to the Shogun's like right hand man or whoever that guy is.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miyamoto and Tomei have fun. They're friends. They're riding on I want to say the last panel is they're like, or towards the end of it, they're riding on their horses like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're a little flirtatious.
Maybe.
I get the vibe.
Nothing wrong with that.
Except in a weird way, like, I want a sword fight with you.
Okay. No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's how warrior masters flirt.
Yeah, I know. They beat each other up and almost stab each other.
Bounty hunter.
I like this. I like this one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're introduced to Jen, the bounty hunter.
And the moral of the story is
Rhino.
never trust a rhino.
Never trust a rhino.
Never.
Yeah, this was fun. I like. Okay, so Miyamoto as a character, and maybe we'll touch back on this a little bit later. I think he's interesting at the beginning, and Jen's definitely like you can tell the character types that Stan Sakai is pulling from like different movies and stuff like that. He's Jen.
He's Bruce Willis.
Yeah, kind of. He's a little seedy. Miyamoto's pretty straightforward, but also like not always the most friendly. Like
Oh yeah, he's kind of a...
He's a little bit of a jerk at times.
Yeah.
But he's guarded, I guess. I don't know. We'll talk about how much of a jerk Miyamoto is later, trust me. I was very unhappy with him at a certain point in this book. But I like that, he's not having none of whatever he senses Jen is selling in the restaurant or bar or whatever. And, but he just butts in and sits down and he's just talking at him.
This is very like Beverly Hills Cop kind of thing. Like you feel like, he's like, I'm going to rope you in on this whether you want it or not. Buddy cop movie time.
Yeah, it is. It's, you got the straight guy, like in the comedy duo, you got the straight guy, and then you got, I don't know, Jen, who's kind of goofy and not goofy, but seedy and doesn't take things super seriously. And
listen, you're going to be my bodyguard. You don't have to do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And then they even have a laugh together, like a bodyguard for a bounty hunter, and they seem to really enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then of course, they're kind of friends, but Jen sticks him with a bill at the end.
Yeah.
So
it was fun. I liked the fun.
Well, and Miyamoto winds up doing most of the work, doesn't he?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I want to say.
And yet they split the rewards like 50-50, but basically Jen just comes in at the last minute or something after everything's already done or something.
Yeah, I mean, well, Miyamoto took in the first one because there's Bounty Hunters 2 story where Jen comes back, but in the first one,
another 48 hours.
Yeah. Miyamoto takes out a lot of the thugs, I guess, for the targets. Jen
goes straight for
battle for the targets, the people that he's after, the bounties.
Yeah.
But I want to say Miyamoto has to come in and ends up kind of saving him anyway.
Yeah, he does.
So,
because
in the second one, Jen totally sets Miyamoto up to have to do everything.
Oh, that's right. I'm probably getting the two mixed up.
So, but yeah, that was fun. I agree. Horse Thief.
I like this one too.
Thank you for listening to the Grawlix Podcast.
I like a moral.
The Grawlix Podcast is a production of Electronic Media Collective.
Yeah, this was a lot of these stories. Like you've got the couple that are obviously part of the larger plot. Then you've got the ones with like the bounty hunter ones, where it's just a little story. It's just kind of some fun, introducing these characters.
Follow us on Facebook.
And then you've got ones like this, which are, if not necessarily a moral tale, at least like an amusing story that does kind of wrap around. A little bit like the first story, the Goblin one, where it's just this little contained thing, and at the end you're like, makes you think or something.
Yeah.
And this one he comes across, he's attacked, right? Is he attacked?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
By what he perceives as, I don't know, he's attacked by some people. He ends up getting a horse from one of the guys. Turns out the horse was stolen from a town he ends up riding into, and it becomes this whole thing.
They chase him.
And then he chases down the original horse thieves, but he's followed by the people who own the horse, and then those groups start fighting, and he ends up leaving those two groups to fight and gives his horse to a guy that was having trouble pulling a cart full of things.
Whose horse had been taken by the magistrate.
Oh, you're right. Okay, that part eluded me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a circle.
So.
Yeah, well, and the whole thing is he's like searching for a reward in the first place, and he's like constantly trying to come out on top. And it's just like at the end, he's just like, whatever, you can have this horse.
Yeah, it's only brought me trouble.
And he walks off laughing, though. He's like, well.
Yeah.
It all comes around.
Exactly.
And Village of Fear. This was a strange one, I thought.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah.
Supernatural again.
The character the character isn't quite the same, but I've seen the I'm sure it's just kind of, part of the culture, I guess, but the little thing with the statues of the people, the little mud statues or whatever. I've seen that. What movie was it? It wasn't Yojimbo, it was another movie. But I've seen that in other samurai movies before, so it made me think of that. But yeah, there's another human, but
that should tip you off right away.
Be suspicious.
Yeah.
Ocho.
It turns out we're Ocho. I guess we were trying to avoid spoilers at first, and then we're just going full spoilers.
Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it.
Well, no. Oh, anyway, this human is a werebeast of some kind.
It's just shape-shifting.
Yeah. Which is a spoiler, but also, like, totally seen it coming. So it wasn't a big surprise.
Yeah, she like
When you kind of have that in that culture too, like kitsune and that kind of stuff pops up from time to time.
So I thought that was interesting. I also liked that it was the one crazy guy kind of ended up in a way sacrificing himself, but
he saved the day.
he saved the day.
Yeah.
And Miyamoto just kind of was there to help out, essentially.
Mm-hmm. They worked. Yeah, I think if either one of them had gone on their own, they wouldn't have accomplished it. So.
Mm-hmm. And this is another one like that last one where I do like the ones that are more of a contained story of like, here's a random tale from his travels. Those are fun.
Yeah. Political intrigue gets a little boring.
Well, I like that too, but it's nice to have it broken up here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, at least in this volume, I don't know how the series goes. It's a nice balance of things.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, sorry, go ahead. Oh, I
was just gonna say the next one, A Quiet Meal. I really kind of like this one, even though it's fairly predictable. It's fairly straightforward.
I'll explain this one in a second. The note I have for this one is just a fun one with Miyamoto being awesome. This is the one where he's like eating in a restaurant and then this big like group of ruffians come in and they're kicking everybody out one by one basically until they get to him and
we're gonna party.
It seems like the kind of thing that like if it was a show, it'd be like, we have a quick break between commercials. We're gonna throw this in and then it's gonna go back to commercial and then we'll go back to a show. Well, like it was too short to even be a story almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, it's just this scenario. It'd be a scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, it's like that scene in all those 80s action movies, you'd see it in Jean-Claude Van Damme movies a lot where you're like, okay, we're going to go into this place and we don't want any trouble, but of course there's going to be trouble. And I'm going to pretend that it doesn't bother me until I just totally clean house.
Mm-hmm.
Am I mistaken? Or was he the one who asked them to be quiet and then they ended up kicking out like 3 other people? And not him?
He pretty much didn't say anything.
Yeah, I don't think he did ask him. I think he just sat there.
It must have been one of the little cute bear people then.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was nervous for those bear people.
They're adorable. Yeah.
I think the only one that really said anything was like the main wait staff or whatever was like, you're bothering people.
Uh-huh.
And then he throws them out and then they just start pointing at people and throwing people out.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to party. Throw them out.
Don't they have cops or security or something in these places?
They would just throw them out.
Yeah, throw him out. He doesn't want to party.
Yeah, no, there's in a lot of them, like, and this ties into the next one, in all the Zatoichi movies, there is this scene at least once in every Zatoichi movie where, somebody's like, oh, who's this guy? Blah, 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 some rough guys. And he ends up just cutting up some flies and scaring everybody. Or sometimes it's a candle, but this is totally that scene. It's just him being awesome. It's a fun thing.
This fly's been cut in half. So is this one. This one's been filleted.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, it was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one I was so excited when I finally come across it.
Oh yeah, this one was awesome.
Blind Swords Pig.
Yeah, there's your Zatoichi.
Zatoichi. I was waiting because I knew there was a character inspired by it. But okay, here's my note. Zatoichi, but they should be friends.
Well, they were friends.
This one bummed me out, man, because it was awesome. Because I was like, that's totally, he's a pig, but that's totally, well, arguably the movie Zatoichi is a pig too. But and they become friends, but then Miyamoto cuts his nose off,
and
they set what's his name? They don't call him Zatoichi.
Oh, it's
Well, somebody calls him Blind Ino at one point.
Yeah.
They set him up to be like a villain in that.
Well, but not even really
he's gonna get revenge.
Yeah, he's gonna get revenge. But basically, what he's saying is he's blind. People mess with him all the time, so he learned to defend himself with the sword, and then they make him a criminal for defending himself.
Well, no, that's the character. What bugs me is Miyamoto cut off his nose. And then he's got to replace his nose and he vows revenge, which he's in the right. Miyamoto's being a jerk. And I understand Miyamoto's like, they're buddies, they're friends. They go fishing and have a good time. And he's like, but I can see that you were wrong, but you're still an outlaw and I got to take you in. and they
'Cause
fight and he cuts his nose off.
Yeah, I don't like it.
And this is where I'm like, Miyamoto, you're kind of a jerk, man.
Yeah, he's like a stickler for the rules, straight-laced butthead. I don't like it.
Well, did like in his defense, did like destroy a town just because they were like, hey, that guy's a bad guy?
Listen,
Well, they attacked him.
he ripped the town up, but the town come at him.
Exactly.
If you know the blind swords pig,
If you step to the blind swords pig,
I'm pretty
it
sure
happens. It happens.
Miyamoto would destroy a town or two along the way if he walked in and they started attacking him.
mm-hmm.
I'm
I mean, okay, so this is a character inspired by Zato Ichi, and I'm basing it totally on, this is Zato Ichi, so everything I know of this character I'm basing on that, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe this blind swords pig does go a little overboard.
No, it's still.
I don't see it that way.
He should have led with, okay, well, how about you come live in my village and whatever, and we can just forget everything else, rather than let me fight with you, cut your nose off, and then you can come live in my village after I disfigure you and
well, it's
ruin your
it's the equivalent.
A second sense.
The equivalent to taking a seeing person's eyes out. Like that's how he's seen. He saw.
Yeah, but it's worse because he's already blind.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad news.
Well, I was very unhappy. I thought he was wrong no matter what.
This isn't a negative. It doesn't. Well, it is, but it doesn't make the book bad. It's just not
That's
the
why
way I expected it to go. They were friends, and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then they were not friends, and Zato Pig Man got wronged.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about it. That's pretty much it.
I obviously have strong feelings about this.
Yeah.
A pig is a perfect character, or a perfect animal to represent that character, though.
You know what you're saying. That was a stretch.
That was a stretch. Hey, they can't all be zingers.
No.
Okay. Then after that, we get Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
This is the introduction of Mariko, Kenichi, and the Mole Ninjas. The Mole Ninja, basically.
That was pretty rad. We find out that Miyamoto is kind of a playa.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get more Miyamoto backstory.
Yeah.
Like actual personal backstory.
Yeah, but it's just it's just depressing kind of to me.
Sure, it's that classic,
unrequited love.
thing.
Well,
and they play that it's played to the fullest, where they each have like an item they gave each other as children. They still have it, and of course at the end they each pull it out separately and look at it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed this quite a bit. It was a nice story.
It was a good story, yeah.
Yeah.
When I liked the Mole Ninjas because they were like a different take, like in the beginning it's like, okay, all the ninjas are cats. Okay, we get it. Cats are kind of steely-eyed monsters, but
and it's the first time that he's kind of incorporated. And there was also a note that somebody had suggested he try that. And there's like a thank you note. But and I want to say it's the first time the animal that he's using to depict this character, like, they're actually using the traits of that animal.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, other than making cats ninjas and stuff like that, but like they do digging things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They use their natural abilities.
They were blended by light.
And that is another thing that something I meant to mention from an earlier story is I find it always strange when they have this in like anthropomorphic animal stories, but there's a dog earlier. That the young boy has. Mm-hmm. And it's just a dog.
Yeah.
It's not like a human dog.
And it's not even proportionately sized to, the other animals.
So there's I'm assuming dog people and then just dogs.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Lapdog dogs.
And a lot of the lizards are very dinosaur looking creatures.
Yeah, and I could never figure out if those were like horses or if they were like chameleons or iguanas or
there's very different
above.
Sizes of them.
Oh yeah, and some of them are like mean, like stay close to me, because there are those little lizards down below.
Yeah. And I know we mentioned them already, but I appreciate like they're always doing something in the bottom of the frame if they're outside. Those things are almost always around, and they're usually making a sound like a eep, or if there's a battle happening, one of them catches an arrow or loses its head.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're always doing something. I just got a Snapchat from Brandon, but I don't have to. I'm going to look at it. He's recommending a book about prepping, I think.
About wedding?
Doomsday prepping.
Oh.
Or something like that.
Yeah, if I had money, I'd be a doomsday prepper, but it wouldn't even need to be for doomsday. I just want it. I want a bunker. I want a huge, awesome bunker full of supplies.
So I'm going to take this moment in the middle of our Usagi Yojimbo review to Snapchat Brandon while we record the Grawlix podcast. Hi, Brandon. I'm sure the listeners love that. They're like, great. They're on Snapchat. We get it.
Yeah. Well, now you are too, because you're with us right now.
You're with us, listener. Have we lost Jesse?
Maybe. See what happens when you Snapchat, baby?
This is what happens when I Snapchat.
For a change, I should be allowed to crash your show for 10 minutes.
Good old Snapchat.
Oh boy.
I'll leave that in. We're recording again. I'll leave that in. We'll allow him to, he crashed Grawlix.
Yeah, not 10 minutes though.
Kind of literally for a moment, because then Jesse's cord came undone or something.
Yeah. Well, my dog, of course,
Ah, okay.
came in, yanked the whole thing out, and I'm like, oh, good. All the things.
Yep.
All the things all at once.
Yep.
Okay, where were we?
Oh, I got the Snapchats from him too.
The world. All about a prepper who's trying to get home. Actually, it's a pretty good book for an independent author. What the heck? For a change, I should be allowed to crash your show for 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, you got the same snaps.
Yeah, I did. Oh, almost 10 minutes, Brandon. Almost. Same snap twice, though.
Yeah, I'm not even going to cut it. Well, listeners might not be amused except for him. He'll be amused.
Yeah. I was amused. It was funny.
Oh yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Brad LaFrette of ProWrestlingIowa.com. Every week on the Pro Wrestling Iowa podcast, I'm joined by my co-host, Dustin Smothers, to discuss the happenings of the pro wrestling industry, as well as talk with independent talent from Iowa and around the Midwest. Hey Dustin.
Hey yo,
Survey says,
this podcast is just too sweet!
make sure to check out the Pro Wrestling Iowa podcast every Monday, right here on the EMC Podcast Network and on Podbean.com, iTunes.com, and ProWrestlingIowa.com.
Hey guys, this is Brandon from the Technology Geek podcast. You can catch all of our shows on the technologygeek.org, as well as on iTunes and all other places where podcasts are carried. We also have a wonderful blog, and like I said, we talk computers, the internet, programming, cell phones, and pretty much anything geek. So come and visit us and listen to our wonderful show at thetechnologygeek.org.
All right. What was next? Let's see.
What was it? Bounty Hunter 2?
Bounty Hunter 2, the last story. Jen returns.
Jen returns.
We kind of.
We already talked about it a little bit.
We already spoiled this one, yeah.
Yeah, so he's back and they go on another mission, except this time, like, it's definitely Jen kind of, puts Miyamoto in a situation where Miyamoto has to take care of it.
Miyamoto doesn't trust him right off the bat, like even more so than the first time.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. But I think he has it all, he plans it out that way so that, at the end.
He ends up stiffing Jen just the way that he got stiffed the first time around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
With the bill.
Sure, that's fair play.
Yeah, with the tab that costs exactly the same amount that that they racked up, or that they made off the bounty.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was the same amount that he ended up paying the first time, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the 50, whatever.
50
units.
Well, whatever.
50 currency units.
Yep.
Yeah. Why that dirty, untrustworthy, lying, cheating? He just gets a good laugh out of it.
So, all said and done, I enjoyed this quite a bit. In fact, I read this like right at the beginning of this last month, I should say. I read this right away, so I was excited for it, and I had a hard time not picking up more to read. I just wanted to keep reading. I liked it so much, and I will keep reading. But yeah, I held off so I wouldn't get it confused with, get future stories confused with what we were talking about.
Gotcha. I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it, and it was easy to read. I just haven't had time, so I did have to kind of binge a little bit today and read the last half of it.
It was a pretty easy binge, though, as far as that goes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say we kind of talked about this. I don't know that we were.
No, I don't think we got it on tape.
Yeah, it was like the opposite problem that we had with last month's poll list pick with Fun with Milk and Cheese. It was like, it's one-offs, but they're all the same, so it's really hard to get through. These were all one-offs, but they were all different, and so it made it very easy to read. Mm-hmm. I'd get done with one, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I could do another one now, so I'm gonna.
Mm-hmm.
And it emotionally, it ran the gamut. There were kind of spooky stories. There was some kind of sad stuff in there. There was some very humorous stuff in there. Some just like fun stuff. Like, yeah, it was good.
Some
very
stuff
good.
that made me angry.
Some stuff definitely made me angry.
Some good action beats.
Yeah, I liked the character at times, and I was very upset with the character at other times. Mm-hmm. I like the art style. From what I understand, Stan Sakai changes the art style at some point in time. I've heard references to like the beginning stuff being in the older art style.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how much it changes or what changes exactly, but I like the look of this quite a bit. Mm-hmm. He nails, there's certain postures, or certain stances that the characters take, specifically, the main character, that are straight out of like those old movies. Like, you'll see occasionally guys, Miyamoto as well as background characters, walking around with their arms inside their tops, or inside their tops and like scratching their face through the neck hole.
Yeah.
That reminded me very much of Yojimbo, what's his name? The Kurosawa movie, which is fantastic. But that character walks around like that all the time. And then there's a couple times where Miyamoto's like relaxed and looking up at the sky, and yeah, like the posture's good. And like we've already said, the fight scenes were fantastic and at times surprisingly violent, but never like gory. Yeah, it was really good. Clean, very clean artwork. Mm-hmm. And cute.
And very cute, yes. That means a lot to me.
So I'm glad, like, it's cool that he's been doing this series for so long. And I'm glad that, he's been able to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming I hope he has a very nice following, but
how can you not after so
decades?
Long? Yeah.
His sketchbooks, I picked up one of them for Jake's birthday. I think I mentioned this last time, but flipping through it, it's really cool. And they have like almost like behind the scenes notes for some of the artwork. And he would say like, there's like, I don't know what he said, like 700 dots in Usagi's, or Miyamoto's top or whatever. I counted them.
Wow. Nice.
Or something like that, at least in like that page. And so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's attention to detail and patience and dedication to putting together really awesome art.
Yeah. If I was drawing somebody the same all the time, I'd totally count it like as I was doing it. I'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure I did it every time, because if I didn't, then it'd be off and I couldn't do it.
Well, and I'm glad we started here, because apparently the series, like, even though it's been an ongoing for decades, apparently he's really good at keeping it accessible to new readers. So you could jump on potentially at any point. People said there was only a couple books that they wouldn't recommend jumping on right away. Mm-hmm. For the most part, it's accessible throughout. And Grasscutter was one that kept coming up. That's the Eisner winner.
Oh, okay.
The volume that won the Eisner Award. I think I read the intro, like Will Eisner intro. That's his name, right? Oh man.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I better be. I'll get my comic book card revoked if I didn't know that, and shops would stop selling me books. And
it all happened with a little podcast.
What happened to him? He can't read comics anymore. He didn't know Will Eisner. Anyway, but super well respected series, and I can see why, but I'm glad we started at the beginning, so we get a nice proper intro to characters that seem like they return quite a bit.
Right.
and great book.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like time to move on past this review, huh?
I think we've done it justice. The kind of justice that he wouldn't give to his freaking friend who deserved it.
Who could fish better than him any day.
Yeah, I want to know what happens there. So now he's got a wooden nose and everything smells like pine.
Yeah. Okay.
You killed a pine. Random Back to the Future reference. Just cause.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, does he never clean his sword? Why does it always smell like blood? There's more than one person that's mentioned that.
Oh, well, I imagine blood. He's got a very good nose, for one.
Yeah, but there was somebody else who mentioned it before, too.
Blood.
Doesn't wipe his sword. Yeah.
I would assume he does, but...
No.
Yeah. Sword wouldn't last very
He's
long.
just killed that many people with it. It is in the metal.
Stop.
Stop what?
Stop trying to take video or pictures or whatever of
It
me.
was just a picture. I was gonna snap you.
Don't snap me.
I'm gonna snap you.
You know what?
Oh, snap.
I dislike it.
Snapple.
My face being in the world.
I know. So, what are we talking about now? Gentle peeps? God, I wish I could edit this. Yeah, this is, listener, if you haven't caught on by now, this is a little rougher than presentation than normal, because we are recording the day before you're probably, it's going up tonight. Tomorrow's the official release of this episode. Little tighter schedule than usual, but.
I gotta watch the F-bombs.
Yep. Well, now that you've said it, it's gonna happen. We've all been doing very
really
good.
Careful.
It's true.
It's usually me, I know, so.
This is us in our natural state.
Yeah.
Yeah, just letting it all hang
Which
out.
is Nebraska.
Yep.
Oh,
Nebraska.
Yep, that too.
Just letting it all hang out in Nebraska.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That
won't get us arrested.
As long as we keep the curtains closed.
Yep. And stand. But what if we're standing on the other side of the curtains?
It's raining. I'm not going to go stand out there right now.
No. It's nature's shower. Actually, it's probably...
I don't know where this is going.
Me either. So we also read The Walking Dead.
We did.
Should we just launch over to that?
Yeah, we have no segue to this.
No.
Well, we were sitting there in all that dead air. We had to do something.
There you go.
Nice.
There we go. Good.
Nice. Professional.
Thanks, babe.
I have notes.
Whoa.
Let's read those notes.
Wait. Snapchat doesn't have my notes. Where am I going? Here we go. Notes. We read, for this discussion, The Walking Dead Volume 7, The Calm Before. Written by Robert Kirkman, art by Charlie Adlard. Originally published September 2007. And this collects The Walking Dead issues number 37 through 42. And stuff happened.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, but not like huge stuff. Like big stuff that was impactful.
Yeah, not like, we were talking about it a little bit before recording for some reason, cause we can't help ourselves. But yeah, a lot of big stuff happened in terms of like, Lori had a baby and Dale
lost a leg,
you know.
And then Glenn and Maggie get married.
What is that? What is your phone doing? Why are you trying to hide it? What is going on? The look on your face was great.
I was flipping through the things and it has ads.
Oh.
And I shut my sound off, but it doesn't do that for media.
Comic Rack. Listen. I know we're cheap. We're cheapies. We're cheapos. What's the word? I know we're cheapskates.
We're frugal, baby. We're frugal.
And we haven't paid for your otherwise pretty awesome mobile comic book reading app. But these video ads that randomly pop up are out of control.
Ooh, randomly? Like while you're reading?
When you go to flip to a new page, it'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm reading. I don't want a freaking video. If I was doing something video-like, then whatever.
From what I've noticed, it'll pop up regular ads like Clash of Clans, click here to install, or sometimes seedier looking ads, which I hate, but they're generally pictures which is fine. I mean, it's
Sure.
annoying, but you know, we haven't paid for the app, so we expect that. But if you're on Wi-Fi, and I'm glad they at least wait for you to be connected to Wi-Fi, it'll throw up videos. And like that situation where it's all of a sudden a loud video popping up, Melanie's face was great. It was both shocked, and then it's like you were trying to hide the phone. Like,
well, so the sound was not by the microphone.
yeah, no, I appreciate it. Little side tangent, but yeah, video pop-up ads. It's a bit much.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially when they won't let you go past them for 30 seconds or whatever.
That doesn't make me want to buy your app. That makes me want to be like, oh, that's
Different
disgusting.
app.
Yeah.
I'm going to go find an app that won't do this. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that was a side tangent. But, okay, so we were saying, but we didn't necessarily get like a big war between groups type big. Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit, but it's like these were things that were huge on the show. Like when someone loses a leg and it's like that was a huge moment in the show. And when Maggie and Glenn got married, it wasn't really huge, but it was like part of the finale or something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So these were all like big deals when they incorporated it into the show. And like when Lori had the baby, that was a huge deal. But like they're almost they kind of overshadow each other. And like when Lori has the baby, it's like, it's just part of like 5 things that are happening at the same time.
No, that's actually a good, I think you nailed it there, because it's not just that like Lori finally had her baby, and there was a lot of build up to it, and even like build up to the moment where they're like, okay, they have this person that's not really a doctor, but kind of a doctor, and they're like, gotta make sure the generators are running, they can't stop, and blah, blah, blah. Like they have build up to that moment, but then that moment is almost overshadowed, the actual birth is overshadowed by Dale getting bit and having his leg amputated, which happens at the same time as a result of trying to keep the generators going. And like, I had forgot about Glenn and Maggie's, wedding, but like, yeah, it's all these things kind of like happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are big deals, but they just like, well, the book's like, here's what's happening. Keep on moving. Got no time to slow down.
Yeah. And
yet, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. I was going to say, it does slow down at times, because then after Dale loses his leg, you've got many, many days of Dale sitting there like eyeballing what's her name and like
Frumpy Dale.
Yeah. So it's
not Happy Days. It's Frumpy Dales.
The pacing is interesting. It's like these big things happen, but Kirkman's less interested in like playing up the big event itself than the personal drama that results from it.
Right.
Which is an interesting approach, I guess. But it's part of like, I guess that personal drama and the character development that results of it is part of what makes the series so good. This book has, this volume seems to have a lot of stuff tied into that.
And I think if you didn't care about anybody or what's going on with their stuff, this wouldn't really work as it is. Because, you can only have so much running from zombies.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes it good, or else it's just, I mean, I realize it started when zombies weren't super huge, the series, like it was in that kind of lull, just as it was starting to ramp up again. But if it weren't for all that, the character stuff, it would just be another zombie book, because there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's The Walking Dead.
Yes, it is, indeed. So what do you think of the differences between this and the show?
One thing I want to talk about Dale.
Yeah.
Dale's leg. And it ties into that. The differences between this and the show, and also like expectations that the book plays with, because they've tried the leg amputation thing before and it didn't work. So I like that they tried it again, and you're like, well, this guy's done for. You assume he's done for when he gets bit, because they've tried the amputation thing and it didn't go well. And then they try it again, you're like, well, he's probably boned, but he's not. And the fact that it's Dale and not Herschel. And I want to say in the show, Dale was gone by then.
Yeah, he had been.
And Herschel's fine at this point. Yeah, so that's interesting. What other differences?
Lori and the baby with the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. She lives through it. Yeah.
There was like no problem, really. She just had a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I read it. I read it again. I crammed this with Usagi at the beginning of the month, but I want to say Rick's reaction when he finally like saw the baby was real interesting because like just crazy. Like it does well to portray what a person must in that situation would like the crazy slamming between extreme emotions where dealing with Dale and this guy's going to die and we just cut his leg off and holy crap, here's my baby that was just born and wow, I have a baby and wow, we're in the zombie apocalypse still. Like,
yeah,
there's a couple panels that just do well to like portray his mix of emotions going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious about how you felt about it.
I think the TV show with especially with because I got into, I guess it was less of a discussion and me just like putting a wall of text at somebody on Instagram. But I kind of got into a discussion about the show. Like if you come to the book after watching the show, the show sets you up with like the expectation that the amputation thing's going to work. And when it doesn't on that first character, I can't even remember who it was now. It kills him.
It was Alan, right?
Alan, yeah. When it doesn't on Alan, you're like, whoa, crap. And then they try it again. Like, it's just, it messes with you. It's like at that point, it's an intentional, like, messing with your expectations. Like, we've established that it doesn't work, but guess what? It does. And like, just all this crazy stuff. And then having the show mixed in there really does, like, it makes it more so you don't know what to expect.
Right, because having seen the show with Herschel, you figure that, oh, yeah, so they're just doing that, but it's a different character. And then he dies. And you're like, whoa, I don't know what's going to happen now.
And then they do it again, and it's still not Herschel.
Yeah.
You're like,
never.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I like that he was, who is it? Is it Andrea? That's his, like, squeeze?
Yep.
I like that. And I think it handled well that he would be even more concerned about the age difference and feeling useless.
Yeah.
But I like that he was so suspicious of her and, oh crap, I'm terrible with all their names. Tyrese. And then it turns out they were like making him a fake, like a peg leg. And it's one of those like, oh, they were doing something nice for you thing. Like it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Because everything's so crappy, you expect the worst.
Yeah. And you know what you don't expect if you're coming from the show, but I already knew? Freaking Carol.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so...
yeah, we're kind of waiting on that one because Carol's probably the biggest thing that happens in this volume.
Really, yeah.
That's why I brought it up before we started talking about that, because I wanted to get your feel on that. You know, how those differences, because they're like good differences, kind of.
It's particularly interesting after just finishing this last season of Walking Dead, where Carol's been having like kind of a moral crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And reading this and watching those last couple episodes, I was like, what if they waited till just now to finally do that to her? Like she seemed like she was on the edge. I was like, what if they had her do that? It's been messing with me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild. It's definitely, it's not shocking that she would, like she had already tried to kill herself.
Yeah.
So, again, full spoilers. She basically walks up, has a conversation with the zombie they have chained up, which you knew that was going to be trouble. Rick knew it was going to be trouble. For whatever reason, they have a zombie chained up in there. So,
well, it's that doctor. Yeah, that doctor wants to do experiments or whatever.
Yeah, wants to study it and this and that.
Find a cure, because that's worked before.
So Carol's obviously, she had a conversation with Lori, which should have been a heads up, like, something's going to happen. And then she goes and she sleeps with Herschel's son.
Yeah, then soon to be 19-year-old.
And then she walks out up like face to face to the zombie, has a little conversation, and then lets the zombie eat her face.
Yep.
And that's how she kills herself.
She does it like she's trying to give him a hug or something.
Oh yeah, she's lost it.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty shocking. Like when she's walking up to it, you're like, oh crap. Like you kind of know it's coming. And you knew she was up to something a little bit, but then to actually do it, and it's like, what a way to do it. Like, I don't think I'd seen, like, you've probably seen 100 different characters getting eaten by zombies, but like, just to willingly do it and stand there and do it like that. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
out in front of everybody. And then
well, yeah, and it's messing with everyone. Like, it's messing with Tyrese. It's messing, obviously it's going to mess with Sophia, she's like in shock.
Yeah, that's
in front of the kids. And Herschel's son is even like, why would she do that to me? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like,
he's all messed up.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Oh, crap. Will you grab me a napkin? It's all good. It's right there.
Wait, that's a paper towel, baby, not a napkin.
I'm just making a mess of my corner of the table here. But it's crazy. I like that they had made Carol such a strong character in the show, based on the fact that like this character is the most equipped to handle any of the situation, and it takes its toll on her.
Yeah.
What's her name? Her daughter's Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
Sophia, yeah,
who's been dead in the series quite a bit, or for quite a while, is obviously just wrecked by it. I'm very curious as to what's going to become of her character. Mm-hmm. But
that was when I had spoiled for you. I told you Sophia wasn't or hadn't died then in the book.
Oh yeah.
Which they handled that really well in the show. I mean, like that's one of the better things they've done in the show. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me, every time, especially when we get to a volume like this, which there's several, like we said, big events, but they're all handled differently in the show. Like with the exception of the Carol thing, there's kind of the equivalent in the show, but it's handled very differently.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me appreciate the changes between the two.
Yeah.
And in the show, Lori's birth, Lori having the baby was a bigger deal in the first place, but she freaking died and her son had to kill her. So yeah. That's super,
very different.
Well, yeah, but I meant like climactic. Yeah.
Yeah. Much bigger deal. Yeah.
And it's kind of surprising when they go. It's kind of like The Mist, the movie The Mist, and I haven't read the Stephen King short story.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, the movie they slap on an insane. I've seen the movie. There's the horribly downer ending isn't in the book. So it always surprises me when they take from a source material and then just make it way darker than the book or the comic book for a television or movie medium, because it's typically the other way around. They have to lighten things a little bit. It always surprises me when they go a darker route, like in that situation where she dies and Carl has to kill her or shoot her, and
Yep. So
I'm curious how this is all going to play out now. Because it's like, whoa, this is a total game changer. Same thing with the Carol thing. And I know I've read articles about how Carol and Daryl basically changed the show. I mean, the show's very different because these two characters are either didn't exist or are totally different.
Well, in the book, Carol she's so, obviously she's crazy, and it's not even just like she can't handle it. She can't handle it, and she's going to traumatize everyone around her, whether she means to or not.
Like a few times.
And it's crazy that she's like that in the book, but the Carol you have in the TV show is like one of the strongest characters.
Yeah.
Like, you can't kill her. She can't die. Even if she doesn't want to fight, she's going to kill everyone and just be awesome.
It's like, at this point in the show, Andrea's not even in the prison. She's off doing other things. So they get separated at the farm.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, Carol almost picks up the slack as the resident, tough cookie.
Yeah.
Oh, they also touch on, in this volume, the Rick, or at least I think maybe Lori brings it up, but Rick acknowledges that the baby could be,
Oh, yeah. That's how they start it all. The whole volume starts with her having a memory dream, and then she wants to come clean, and he's all like, "No, I don't want to talk about it. I get it."
What was his name? The buddy Shane. Punisher.
Yep.
Yeah, the Punisher.
Punisher's going to series, by the way. Netflix is gonna make a
Punisher that's
series. Awesome. So thoughts on this volume overall?
I liked it. I like them all, but
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's some kind of extreme stuff, and I like the end. You know that something's coming.
Oh yeah, so the governor shows up at the very end
in a tank.
Yep.
Which didn't totally surprise me, because that they actually kind of did in the show. I mean, the whole Woodbury thing plays out very differently in the TV show, but they still show up in a tank.
Yep.
Which is almost more surprising in the book, because earlier in the book, they go to that National Guard armory and they see the tank and they're like, well, what if somebody knows how to drive a tank? And they're like, oh, and so they blow the whole thing up.
Yeah.
But then he still shows up in a tank.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot about them blowing that. Yeah, they blew up the... Like, I understand why they were doing it, but huge mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just don't. Just leave it alone. Like, get in there, get out, and hopefully they don't even know you were there.
Yeah.
It seems to be... At least that seems like a better option.
Well, did they even know that the governor was alive?
No, I don't think they assumed the governor was still alive.
Right.
Or at least, I'm sure Michonne didn't
not
assume.
a walking, talking, functioning human.
Yeah. What a mess that guy's gotta be.
Yeah.
He's got an eye patch and he's missing an arm and all the other things we know that are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They do like to amputate people in the book, man.
Yeah, they just chop off body parts.
Pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like this volume. I went through it. I'm going through them quick. They're like, Walking Dead does tend to be a little talkier than some other comics, but I'm going through them pretty quick. It's good. Kirkman is just consistently good with all of his series. It's kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know if this was, like my initial reaction was like, oh, not as good as the last, but it is pretty good. I mean, like, you look at all the things that happen after skimming through it. I'm like, holy cow. Like, all the things do happen in this volume.
Uh-huh.
It's just not like a giant war, like you're kind of used to these huge action beats, and it's nothing huge, just a lot of little ones.
It's a little bit more low key. It's traumatic things, but it's not like explosive traumatic things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
And I was surprised, this is jumping back a little bit. I figured that kid that Dale went out to the cars to siphon gas with,
mm-hmm.
I figured that kid was going to get it, but I didn't expect Dale to get it for whatever reason.
No, yeah.
But you knew when he's running around, I was like, oh, this kid's in trouble. This is going to lead to bad things.
Yeah.
Darn kids.
And nobody should leave the prison, because they should know if, as they're coming back, either it's going to be overrun by zombies or somebody's going to be bleeding out outside the fence. Like, don't leave, because when you come back, it's going to be a mess every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's two rules in The Walking Dead. One is never leave, and two is don't be happy.
Oh yeah, definitely don't be happy.
Yeah, it's all over that.
And if you're just playing happy, you're going to walk your face into a zombie.
Yep.
Don't
have we talked about the show and how the finale ended?
I don't believe so.
So I feel like they're really playing with us and our rules now, because there's this whole, don't be happy thing, and we know, as soon as someone, comes to some kind of cathartic bliss, that means they're doomed. And so, right now, you've kind of got that with Abraham's character, and you've kind of got that with Eugene's character.
Uh-huh.
You're like, okay, so now it's oh, it could be anyone, because there's too many people that are happy now.
So in the season finale of Walking Dead, they played up the whole Eugene, sacrificing himself. They played that up so, it was so obvious that I was almost like, they're not going to kill him. If they do, at this point, it'd be hack. It'd be hack TV.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They're buttering you up for something else. He could be the only one that survives, the way they're setting up how certain it is he's going to die,
and they've really played with swapping people who should die. In this season, they have Denise die the way that Abraham was supposed to die. And so they don't tell us who's going to die at Negan's hands. And, so we're supposed to, if it were the books, we know it would be a certain character.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you all know?
I think I know.
I've had it spoiled. Yeah.
I obviously read it, so yeah.
I know who it's supposed to be, and I'm like, oh, it's totally not them now, because they've bait and switched us on this stuff so many times that it could be anybody now.
I think who was the I can't remember who I said I thought it was. Either one person that I don't remember at this moment in time, or I think it was Daryl. Maybe I want to say that it was going to be Daryl or the person that it was in the book, because we're going to think that it's not going to be the person in the book.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't know we know. They think we know we know.
Exactly. Yeah. they know we're expecting it not to be this person.
Yeah.
That they're going to make it that person.
Mm-hmm.
And Daryl, okay, so there's the whole thing where people be upset if they kill Daryl off, ever.
And that's why they're going to do it.
Well, and the thing is, it's unreasonable to expect he's going to be on the show forever.
Right.
I mean, sure, actors will be on a show for a long time,
mm-hmm.
but that guy does other things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and since the show, it's really skyrocketed his career.
Oh, yeah.
I could see him saying, you know, like, this has been a great run and I love this show and what it's done for me, but I've had a lot of offers, you know?
And one of the big things is, I mean, they change stuff all the time, but this is a moment where you lose a character that you love. It is. It's one of the characters that you really love.
It's down
so
to
they
like,
have to make it one of the characters you really love, or it loses all of its impact.
Exactly.
True.
It's got to be
True.
somebody. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm almost thinking maybe Maggie.
You think?
That'd be pretty big impact.
It would be.
She's been, I mean, she wasn't the original group, but she was like second season group.
Yeah.
And she's already weak and sick and
Mm-hmm.
potentially pregnant. And
So she is pregnant.
well, she is pregnant, but she's also super sick. So
Yeah.
who knows how that's
Yeah.
going to go.
Yeah.
So it'd be pretty brutal to off her character.
Yeah, it would be.
And then we'd end up with a floppy Glenn. What did we call him last episode? Because
Oh, I don't even know.
he was soft. Glenn was soft floppy. Same
Yeah.
difference.
No,
I'm suddenly uncomfortable with this.
He's like an old style disc. He's a floppy disk.
He's a floppy disk.
limp. No, it would totally destroy him though.
Oh yeah, in either form, comic book or.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we know it's not going to be Carl, and we know it's not going to be Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else? I don't think it would be Michonne either.
I wouldn't think so, but
They've already done some messed up stuff to her. Well, they've done messed up stuff to all of them. So.
But if they were going to get rid of Michonne after her and Rick just struck up this relationship, would be a time to do it for emotional and character impact.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked this season. I've liked since the second season. The end of the first season was iffy. The second season was iffy from the middle to just before the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But since then, I've liked the show every season.
Yeah.
There's always people who are like, oh, this show's just gotten terrible. And it's like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Like
This season was a little strange, and I heard there was all sorts of different changes in the middle of the season or something.
yeah, from what I understand, they changed showrunners in the middle of the season. This show cannot hold on to a showrunner.
And in light of that, like, they did a really good job of keeping it fairly consistent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of tell a difference in tone, thinking back to the first half of the earlier episodes this season till the last few episodes. Like, tonally, it's a little bit different, but yeah, it's still pretty consistent.
Yeah.
I don't like what they're doing with Carol, just because I don't like that Carol's so conflicted about it, because she is.
It just seems really sudden, and I suppose it could be, but it's just like all of a sudden she is.
I don't think it's I don't think it's unreasonable, but I don't dig it. And she was away from the group for a while after she burned those people. Like, if that point, like, if she hadn't had a change of heart at that point in time.
No, if she hadn't had a change of heart when she had to shoot what had basically become her children.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Look at the flowers. Look at the flowers.
Yeah, if it wasn't going to happen then, it's not going to.
Yeah.
They did, she is a hard character, though. Mm-hmm. Like, they made her crazy hardcore. And they even had to throw in when I can't remember the characters' names, but the one lady's son, the little boy, was getting eaten, that they threw in, like, he was remembering her, like, threatening him about, they get a hold of you and they eat you while you're alive and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, holy crap. And now that wouldn't necessarily affect Carol, but for the viewer,
oh yeah,
it's kind of like, yeah, Carol's a little bit of a monster.
Yeah.
But she's an awesome monster because you don't mess with her.
Yeah, and she's the reason they've stayed alive this long.
And that scene where, okay, even after she had a change of heart, she actually might be a little bit more awesome as conflicted Carol, because it's so interesting that we're talking about Carol so much this episode.
Yeah.
But because when those 4 or 5 dudes in the pickup truck had her stopped and were like trying to, like, I don't know, take control of her or whatever. And she starts crying, and they're like, oh, and she was crying because she didn't want to kill them.
Yeah.
And then she just murders almost all of them.
Yeah.
That was because she had like this automatic in her sleeve. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I want to watch that scene now. It was so good. But I also want to be like, just snap out of it.
Yeah.
You're living, just be awesome. It's because the one guy,
Yeah.
the bow staff guy, ruined her.
Morgan. Yeah.
Morgan poisoned her.
I really liked his episodes too before he like rejoined the group, you know, like the Eastman episode was awesome and I really enjoyed him. And then he comes into the group and he's like, no, we can't kill. We don't have to.
It's like, no, dude, you kind of do.
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't even mind the flashback where he basically learned that lesson and kind of got his mind together, although not really.
Yeah.
Although from knowing like people that have kind of lost it, like in real life in the past, he portrays that pretty well. He makes me a little uneasy because you can tell.
Yeah.
But anyway, I understand. It makes for like an interesting. It's a little extra conflict in the group.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like you can't have that guy.
But now he broke his own rule
To save Carol.
Mm-hmm. So maybe
Who?
Yeah.
And then you got the priest who is like supposedly mending his ways after he was.
Speaking of creepy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He makes me uneasy as well, but he's always made me uneasy because he plays the character so.
And I love that actor. Like he's just an interesting character actor.
I don't know why they're always having him watch the kids because that's the last thing I would want him to be doing.
Well, he does. He makes you uneasy, and it's like, even so, he hasn't. Every scene he's in where he interacts with Rick or any of the main characters, it's like a proving himself scene over and over. To the point where it's like, well, maybe it's not warranted now, but also like, you've been so spineless for so long. It's it's hard to buy that you're going to get approving yourself.
And
that was kind of the theme that second half was like all these characters trying to prove themselves.
Yeah. The town, a lot of the townsfolk and stuff,
and Eugene,
they kind of drilled that into the ground a little bit.
Well, and Denise. Her untimely end was all about proving herself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it made me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because her character was literally that very moment was starting to get more interesting where she's like, it's,
Yeah.
Never be happy. Never come to like a life-changing moral shift.
And like stutteringly try to keep talking about what you're talking about. That was so weird.
Oh,
I loved it.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. It's shocking for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That is the show's biggest tell. And in a way, the comic book. Just don't be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is that it? Is that our dead air?
There's our dead, and ending our dead air with dead air.
I suppose
we got one more volume of it in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
One more volume of dead air, and then we're not sure what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I'll have to research.
It was Swamp Thing, and then it was Walking Dead.
But if I haven't read it, how do I know if it's good, baby?
You won't.
But there's so many things that I know are good.
You won't.
Oh.
As much as I'd love to do Invincible, I don't think we'll be able to do Invincible.
No?
Well, I'll keep suggesting it at you though.
But the beginning, I mean, I've read the beginning and it's fine, but I'm not even really that far.
Well, see, that's the thing. How far we'd have to figure out. If you're more than 6 volumes in, we probably shouldn't.
Me?
Yeah, of Invincible, and you might be.
Hold on.
You'll have to open the comic and look at the first front cover because it's not going to say in the description.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of 10.
Oh no, we can't do dang it. No, we can't do Invincible.
Right.
It'd be 20 months before we even got to where you had finally read something. We'd finally got to something you hadn't read yet.
And I didn't think we were going to go that far.
We're not.
Right.
But it's got to be
more interesting later.
Well, a lot of series do, but it's got to be something and I'm just reiterating this for the listener because I think we talked about this off mic. I could be wrong. It's got to be something you haven't read yet because we did Swamp Thing and you had read it, and we've done Walking Dead and you've read all of it.
Yeah.
So it's got to be something like Swamp Thing was new to Jesse, Walking Dead's new to me and Jesse. It's got to be something that's new to you.
But
or at least partly.
Yeah, maybe we should pick it then.
Some new ground, yeah.
I guess it doesn't make sense to make you pick it if it's something you haven't read.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could look at I have a list of shames somewhere still, don't I?
Probably.
Well, maybe I'll look at that and see what you think. I'll get your guys' opinion, and if that doesn't seem okay, then you guys can see it.
We get veto. We get
Veto power.
executive decision.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's coming. That's coming, listeners.
Yep. Yeah. All that to say, after
We don't know.
next Dead Air, we're going to talk about some other ongoing series.
Yeah. Keep this boat we're on afloat. We're on a boat.
On a boat.
On a boat?
And it's all circled around.
I'm on a boat.
Were you trying to be sexy?
No, I was just
okay.
I was just moving myself.
What are you?
I don't have to try, baby. I simply am. No, I realize I'm sitting kind of weird, but these chairs aren't the best on your back, so I'm kind of propping my back up.
What was the way you were saying it, and you kind of arched your back and were sliding your hand on your leg?
I'm not
lurid.
Yeah,
it's the lurid portion of the show.
Yeah,
I'm just being.
I would like to know, and I think we talked about it maybe last time too, but I would like to know Jesse's opinion about the Legends of Tomorrow.
Have you been watching Legends of Tomorrow?
Oh, the show, yeah. Wow, yeah. Oh, and I guess have you guys been caught up with the Flash and Arrow too?
Flash, yes. Arrow, no.
Arrow, no. Right.
It's still hard. It's so hard to force ourselves into it.
I actually, the other night, we're far enough back that I'm not sure if Hulu has where we left
the point
off.
of no return. You can't get caught up.
Yeah. But the other night I started one and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start watching it by myself. Not because just because it's hard to make us both watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, maybe at least I can catch up. And
yeah. And it's one of our longer ones, and it's,
yeah, anymore with our schedule, it's easy to fit in a half-hour show, but an hour show starts to push it into late night bedtimes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So yeah, but the question.
Oh, hold on.
I don't know. It took a weird turn. Rory Heatwave was supposedly dead, but we all knew he wasn't because he was in the sizzle reel for the second half of the season or whatever.
Oh yeah, huh?
And they just seem to be taking a lot of strange little 1 or 2 episode breaks. But I guess at least they're being consistent. They do that with all of them. The Flash will take a weird 2 episode break, and then Arrow's taking a 2-week break or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's weird. We find out that Rory's not dead. We find out that they accidentally leave Ray Palmer and
Kendra.
Kendra. I get her mixed up between I think Justice League Unlimited, I think Shiara or whatever. I don't know. So they have this weird little love interest thing happening there, and it's bizarre. Did you guys watch the most recent one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I left off, and it's I don't know where they're going with this now.
I'm having trouble with it.
Yeah.
It's such a good concept. The idea, it should be it should be fun and just wild. And if they're going to do crazy time traveling, mind bendy stuff, do it.
Yeah.
They travel time, so it's consistent. It's not we're in a time machine, but we're always in 2016, this one location, so that they're doing that. But the relationship stuff is bugging me. And I know it's there because it's CW.
That's where I actually, in this most recent episode, is the first time that I thought this to myself. And I think they've got their own showrunner and their own team, but this is the first time that I thought, oh, so they probably pulled writers from Arrow and not the Flash.
Ooh, yeah. That's a perfect.
Because it was the first time where I was like, this is much more like Arrow and much less like the Flash.
So a perfect example of it just the relationship stuff. It's an interesting dynamic. It's just not handled very well. And not this most recent episode, but the episode before where, whoever that lady time traveler, is that racist? Is that sexist?
Yeah.
The Pilgrim? Was it the Pilgrim?
The Pilgrim. Yeah. She had kidnapped everybody's family, even though most of them we couldn't see because they didn't actually have the actors there, which is obvious. Here's what bugged me. Ray Palmer has his dead fiancée in his room, like, it's a woman who, like, died. He was in love with her. She died. Kind of pushed him towards the whole superhero thing. She's back there. She's there just for a moment. That should be amazing. Like,
oh yeah,
you should be able to
like
jump on
mind-bending craziness in your head. Yeah,
yeah. That talk about like a potential for some really interesting writing, character writing, and character development, and like drama,
and especially in light of what's going on with him and Kendra.
Instead, she's kept off camera, far away from the camera, because it's not actually the actress, off in his room. And then, yeah, Ray goes out and they have this forced conversation with Kendra about them being engaged. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you're going to force this crap? Like, sure, like that could be an issue next episode or something.
Yeah.
But they're going to force it right now when they have the potential to have him have a conversation with his dead fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Holy crap. And like, I was like, all right, this is bad writing. Bad writing. This most recent episode should have been amazing.
Yeah.
And I found by the end of the episode,
when we're yelling,
oh,
it's a time traveling spaceship. Use it.
Yeah. I'm also like, I'm predicting. It should not be this easy to predict. You know, like, oh, he's gonna get. He just had this battle with this lone soldier that is Vandal Savage's guy, and I'm like,
with a mask.
I'm like, it's totally Carter.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Spoilers. It's totally Carter.
Yeah, I guess that too.
Yeah.
And she
should
worded it out.
Yeah.
This is at least the third time they had
some revelation. We were like, oh, I'm totally into it. We're gonna make this work. And we're like, oh, nope.
Yeah.
And this is the second time for sure, possibly the third, where they had Vandal Savage either in their hands or unconscious. They had a weapon that would kill him, and they had Hot Girl there, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, we realize you've built your premise around, or built the show around this is the premise, but you need to hurry up and come up with something else, because this is old, and it's clear you're just dragging it on unnecessarily.
Yeah.
I didn't really expect they were going to have her bash his head in, but that might have made, if she actually had, much more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was because what's-his-name was there, and then you had Doctor Who Rory, not Hot Rory, or Fire Rory, whatever.
Yeah.
You had the Time Master, you had Rip there saying, like, you know, basically, if you're going to try to save him, you're dooming my family. Like, if you don't do this, my family is going to be killed. And she still didn't do it. Terrible. It makes her look bad.
Yeah.
Like, hero. No. She would have sacrificed something, what she wanted to save somebody else.
All right.
I guess I'm confused by how this all works now too, because it's like, what? So she's got to be the one that kills him, or is it just stuff that happens? Like, it just has to be a weapon that was available during the meteorite.
At some point in time, they specified that it had to be either her or Carter, and it had to be with an item that was there when they were killed.
Well, I think that's crap, because I still say they should just kick him out of an airlock, and I bet he's not going to reincarnate from that.
Well, and
we might reincarnate, but at least he wouldn't be there to take over the world.
Yeah.
Well, but when they reincarnated him before, they had to have his ashes or something, right? If he's
that was
space
with Merlin. Malcolm Merlin did some weird thing that brought him back so that they could have this TV show. Talk about weird inconsistent
characters. John Barrowman's fault. John Barrowman, you.
It's because he's a fixed point in time. He messes time up all the time.
That's true.
Well, and so they've got him in the ship. Rip's still worried about him killing his family. You're in a ship that can travel through space and time. Take him away from there. Go to the future so that he's just not in that time frame.
Exactly.
Your wife and kid are fine.
Yeah, 3 days, he said. Jump a week ahead, bam, your family's alive.
At least for the time being. Figure something out. It's bothersome because they had a giant robot fight. Well, a robot and a giant Ray Palmer.
My thought was like, that robot's really good at fighting.
Yeah.
Like, it's better than Ray.
It is. It's better than Ray.
That's some really good AI. Like,
the guy, what's his name? I can't remember his name. The younger half of Firestorm.
Oh, Jefferson.
Thank God he said it.
He had to remind Ray, hey, dude, you got, like, laser rockets. You got lasers.
Yeah, because that was another thing.
How about you use them? And he's like, they're compressed light. But then he's like, oh yeah, here. And he shoots at him once. And it came down to like some super cheesy story like, Ray, get up. You have to want to live. You have to fight for it. And he's like, oh, okay. And he gets up and punches the robot's head off. And I was like,
yes.
This is a giant robot fight where you obviously, it's not the best CG. Maybe keep the camera away from Ray Palmer's face. But they put a little money into the CG.
This should have been epic.
Should have been amazing.
I shouldn't have so many problems with this.
No.
This should have just been stupid, dumb fun. And it was like frustrating.
Bad writing. And it really is bugging the crap out of me.
But like you had mentioned also, if they're going to spend the money on CG, why not have him in front of a green background and CG everything around him?
Yeah, like, okay, if they're just going to have... If they want to CG him for a lot of shots where it's him, the robot's in view, you can see all the trees, that's fine, because you don't necessarily want the, like, Godzilla in a suit around miniatures look. But for the close-ups, because they did several close-ups on Ray Palmer's face... Use actual Ray Palmer. You don't have to CG the close-up of his face because it looks awful.
Horrible.
And there's not enough going on in the background to like worry about it not matching. You can composite a close-up of his face on the background or something. It would have worked fine.
Mm-hmm. It would have looked
His
better.
face looked bad.
Yeah.
Everything else looked fine because they can CG mechanical things and inorganic things fairly easily. Even the trees in the ground looked fine. But his face, and they insisted on going to close-up at least 5 times, looked bad.
Yeah, there were some, like, even the action of, like, him sweeping his leg back around, that, like, some of that stuff looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when he hits the ground, but he sweeps his leg back around so he can pop right back up into the fight.
Yeah.
I was like, and I even thought as a martial artist, I was like, oh yeah, I can see someone doing that. That's physically possible. It's an interesting move to put in this fight and a great angle to shoot it from.
Yeah, it's just the CG really wasn't bad if it wasn't that little detail of like showing his face so explicitly. It instantly makes the whole CG scene look bad because you're like, oh, that's some bad CG. But up to that point, you're like, oh, this is all right, man. A TV show with giant robot and stuff fighting a giant dude
in a robot suit.
But
grabbing the spaceship and
I'm gonna keep watching, but at the end of the episode, I was like, which is really disappointing. I'm like, I'm about done with the show. I mean,
and it feels like this should have been like the last episode because they have him.
Yeah.
They have Vandal Savage, and it's like I'm really having a hard time with like I don't care what the moral conundrum is here. You have the bad guy that you're supposed to kill.
Yeah,
and Carter would want it that way.
Your boyfriend,
like, why hasn't
or the world? Jeez.
Yeah. And your boyfriend would say, kill him.
Yeah.
Your boyfriend would say that.
He's been saying it for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Kendra's a wishy-washy character, so that's problematic.
Yeah, she
should be like the toughest character, too.
She really should.
She falls in love with everybody all the time, too. I don't like that.
She falls in love with everyone.
I mean, like, the cartoon Hawk Girl is by far... She could whoop this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she would whoop her.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that fight. Cartoon Hawk Girl versus live action Hawk Girl. I know who my money's on.
And it's just so obvious that they're stretching they're stretching this Vandal Savage thing to way beyond what they need to because their whole show is based around that premise.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they can't just get rid of him because then what's the show going to be about?
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, they've had him.
Yeah.
There's at least 3 times where they could have just ended him and it was over.
Yeah, maybe they shouldn't, run into him so freaking often. Maybe they should be doing small, subtle things to try and change the future instead of, constantly attacking him then, if they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, it'd be okay if they got tied into events in different time periods that they landed in for more than an episode or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't want to get bogged down, but yeah, if they're not ready to end the storyline with Vandal Savage.
I do that all the time.
With Vandal Savage, then they need to stop putting them right there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best stuff that has come out of this season so far have been the weird one-offs where it doesn't even have anything to do with stopping him so much as like the Jonah Hex episode was really kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And all they were doing there was trying to hide from the Pilgrim.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that had nothing really to do with Vandal Savage other than the Time Masters are trying to track him down. And then they do that whole time crash thing where they accidentally end up in this future of Star City. And we get to see what happened to the Arrow, and we get to see old man Oliver Queen. And all of that was way more interesting than kind of the central plot of the whole season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's weak if you have to like find some. The premise of your show is problematic if you have to find some flimsy way to bring back the villain from another series in order to have the premise for your show.
Yeah.
They had killed Vandal Savage, and the way they brought him back was flimsy and weak, but they did it so that for this show. They need to figure out what they plan on doing after Vandal Savage and then get to that.
No kidding, because I'm so tired of it.
Excuse me.
Well, even if they're going to bring back Van, I mean, like, there's no reason he can't be reincarnated if they just flub this thing.
Mm-hmm.
If they pull an Ashley Williams and accidentally say the words wrong, and and Vandal Savage comes back, fine, but get there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Get there. Don't just not do it. Don't just have him and then not do it, because that is frustrating.
Oh, and that's going to make it even more frustrating if that's what happens, where it's like, well, we think we beat him. Oh, but we didn't beat him just quite perfectly right, so he's going to reincarnate and something worse is going to happen.
You know what I'd be okay with? Because she's annoyed me enough through this first season. They should just kill all three of them off.
Kendra,
and then they're
Savage,
done, and then it's gone.
Carter?
Yeah.
Kendra? Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. And then, look, they have a new chick. They can take his daughter. She can be their new strong girl.
I also don't buy Rory as Kronos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
no.
yeah.
It's a very comic book twist to take, like story-wise, and kind of cool. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, because they snapped him back into being Heatwave so effortlessly.
Like, he's the same character. He's not different at all.
Yeah, he didn't go through a million lives and whatever.
Well, like, for a second, he seemed like much more competent, and he actually knows what's going on. But, like, that lasted all of an episode. And now he's basically back to who he was.
Which makes it, like, you just don't buy it. It's unearned. Like, it's a big concept that they just did not earn at all. And they didn't even really work for.
Right.
But, I mean, he doesn't seem extremely intelligent, but he does seem a little more so, I would say, than before. At least in the one where with the Pilgrim. He seemed to be very insightful.
He's a little less meathead, but he still seems... His attitude's still the same.
Yeah.
And if he'd have gone through all that, I would assume he'd be different.
But his attitude was bad.
I must say though, I don't remember which episode it was, where they were gathering up the younger versions of themselves.
Yeah, that was the Pilgrim one.
The Pilgrim one. I did like that Rip Hunter would go back and visit his, like, what is she, like a foster mom, while Rip Hunter as the child is still living there running around.
Yeah.
I was like, that's good, like, weird little time travel stuff. Mm-hmm. And they made the younger him awesome.
And looked so much like him. It was great.
So that episode was all right. Yeah.
I really liked that, and that was kind of the premise for why they are going so straightforward into this whole, like, we've got to go take out Vandal Savage now, and they kind of nod to that, and then they just kind of don't even mention it in this most recent episode. It's like, why are we going after it? We have to. We're running out of time.
We're running out of time.
Everybody forgot why. You know, like, you've had 100 things happening.
Yeah.
So why is this so expedient? Oh yeah, that's right. Because we've locked our younger selves off in a foster home, and if we don't do it, then nobody's future is intact.
Yep.
Are they all at the foster home?
Oh yeah, I don't think they took them back yet.
Yeah, he just left them there because they're supposedly safer there. But now, like, that was the whole thing with Martin Stein. Like, his wife doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, because it was times becoming solid again with them out of it.
Right.
And I had forgot about that because they didn't even mention it that episode.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
At the end, they're even like, oh, we have some time now. It's like, no, you kind of don't. You still have the same amount of time for, even though time is your time traveler, but still.
Yeah. Some of the most interesting stuff they just conveniently forget.
Mm-hmm. So it could be awesome, but they're letting it suck.
So shifting gears a little bit, The Flash, I want to talk about a little bit. This season, I don't think this season so far has been as strong as the first season.
Mm-mm.
But there's some cool stuff, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something I noticed in a recent episode is maybe 2 episodes ago, but it was before Barry lost his power because he doesn't have his flash power, which is all that's still kind of problematic. But anyway,
Yeah.
he was running trying to get super fast, and they figured out how to like do that. They made him that device so he could tap into the whatever
Tachyon something.
Yeah. Did you notice while he was testing it out and running, he disappeared, reappeared?
Yes. Yeah.
Like
and he's like, I'm back.
Exactly.
How long was I gone?
Yeah.
He said, I'm back.
Yeah.
How long was I gone? And they're like, that was the fastest ever.
That was totally the Supergirl nod. Because he was wearing that stupid device when he shows up in that other dimension. But they don't mention it beyond that. He's like, back. Yeah, no, that was why he disappears.
Yeah.
Bummer. Okay. Well, I mean, that's cool. They tied it in a little bit, I guess. And we haven't watched the Supergirl crossover. That bums me out a little bit because I was like, are they playing some type of long game? Did he like time travel and then 10 episodes later he's going to appear from the past? Like, darn it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, has the Kevin Smith episode happened yet? I'm wondering.
Don't think so, but I'm not sure. No, I don't think so. Because Jay Muse is going to be in it, and
that's
I haven't
right.
seen him yet. So,
Okay.
In fact, from what I understand, I was listening. I don't remember which podcast of Kevin Smith's numerous shows. Jay Muse is in it twice as like a Jay Muse obvious character, but he's also in it again as like a masked, dressed up character.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not sure when that one's supposed to air. Or
I think it's like near the end of the season, and so that's what I'm trying to figure out. It's got to be coming up. I guess I don't know what number episode we're on, but it feels like we've got to be heading towards the final climactic shift soon.
Was that a Grawlix? No, I just heard it.
Shift.
Yeah, he said shift. So yeah, the Flash this season I've been enjoying. It's like I said, I don't think it's as strong. They've had a few of those moments where it's like, oh, like this could have been handled so much better, or why are we wasting time doing this? But for the most part, it's still, in my mind, in my opinion, leaps and bounds over the other two CW superhero shows going.
Yeah.
And
I'm bummed about the Jay thing. Like, he's not even a real character. He's like a fake name for Zolomon.
Oh yeah, so that's not even an existing comic book character, huh?
Yeah, that's how they're dealing with him being bad.
So, who do you think's in the other cell? I'm trying to look at the skin because initially I was like, well, it's the real Jay Garrick in there. That makes the most sense.
Right.
But if there's not a Jay Garrick on Earth 1, then maybe they're just not going to have a Jay Garrick. Well, though, somebody would have had to, I don't know.
Well, they kind of answered that by saying that Jay Garrick never existed, and it was always Hunter Zolomon, that this serial killer just was the Flash.
Well, that's lame, and that doesn't even
to give people hope and blah blah blah.
That's
that's been a bummer.
I get being the Flash thing, but maybe he's a genius, maybe he is, and knows how to not just steal, but like create an entire identity from nothing and all that, but you're the other person.
It doesn't make sense why he would do it.
I think I have a alternate. I think I have a theory now that just occurred to me. We don't have an Earth 2 Eber Thawne yet.
Oh,
that's true.
And because we know they have to be speedsters, right? Or well, they don't have to be speedsters, but for the most part, the people that Zoom has kidnapped have been speedsters.
Uh-huh.
So I wonder if there's an Earth 2 Eber Thawne.
Well, I'm sure there has to be, but it doesn't.
But Ebert Thawne's, whatever his name is, he's from the future though, so maybe he just doesn't exist there yet.
Yeah, but he'd be a good guy.
My theory on
that.
We're still talking about the guy in the cell, yeah?
Yeah. If it was him, he'd be a good guy.
My theory, and this is why I mentioned I was trying to look at his skin. My theory is maybe it's Wally.
Yeah.
Because I swear he had, like, I thought it was a white guy in there.
Yeah, see, that's the thing I was trying to think too, and it does. It looks like because I'd heard that theory too, and it seems maybe
because we know Wally in the comics is a speedster.
Yeah.
And they recently, I don't remember which episode, but they had made mention of, he's like, they had made mention that they hadn't seen Earth 2 Wally, or they'd come across him on Earth 2. So I was like, well, is he the guy in the cell then? That makes sense. But previously I thought it was a white guy. I thought I'd seen like white hands or something. This last episode where they actually went there and Caitlin dealt with Killer Frost and all this, I was looking out for it and I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. I couldn't see like his neck and his hands. I don't know if they're gloved or what, but I just couldn't tell.
No, I think it was just,
or if it was just dark in there. And...
Yeah, dark, and the lighting was weird, and I'm not sure, but
he's knocked on the window a bunch in earlier episodes. It might be interesting to look back.
Yeah.
And it's got to be somebody smart enough to have this weird code that only Barry has been able to figure out, like his Morse code thing.
Yeah.
Initially, the first time they showed him, I thought it was Barry, just from another timeline or something, or
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's why I thought it was Jay too, but then they kind of squashed that theory.
Well, who knows how many of him he has laying around to kill or whatever. Maybe that's him when he was younger, before he became a serial killer.
Well, and they have mentioned that Zoom wants to conquer Earths now, so he just kind of said it plural. Who knows what they're going to go ahead and do now? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's no. It's clearly a male figure. I was going to say maybe it's Trajectory from Earth 2.
Maybe she just has small chesticles.
Chest sickles? Is that because it's cold in there?
Well, Killer Frost. There's a Killer Frost in there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, that's been TV talk.
Yeah, yes.
All these questions. Will we get answers? You'll have to tune in next time. I'm sorry.
All right, this is...
That was a flash flood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Flashback. At least I got that. I like that. That's a good reaction.
Was that Simpsons character?
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah, that's the show.
Right.
That's the show.
In the future. No, I didn't get confused as to whether we were at the beginning of the episode or not. This episode's a little rougher because obviously there's more ums and spaces and spices.
You can tell how awkward we really are.
Yeah, this is a glimpse into the true Grawlix podcast.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the roughly 200 little edits that a normal episode has. Which is insane.
Yeah.
We were talking about that the other night. I was applauding myself for having that many cuts in an episode, and hopefully most of them are seamless. So
yeah.
But to be fair, I think we're all a little tired tonight too.
True.
Yeah, it was a big weekend.
Yeah.
Busy time of the year.
So this
Civil War's coming out too.
Is that this weekend?
Yeah, I think it's coming up.
Oh, that reminds me. There are other little newses that I'll throw out there. Flash, the movie Flash director lost its director recently.
Oh, another DC one did too. Didn't Aquaman also?
Ooh, maybe. I hadn't heard that one. It's possible.
Yeah.
And I know Zack Snyder's been clashing with the studio over Justice League.
Oh boy.
Basically, it sounds like the studio's flipping out and all their directors are and having arguments with all their directors over creative differences, like they say.
Yep.
Which the issue is, I think the studio's right to be alarmed if they were really going to follow the Batman v Superman tone through everything.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, movie studios, they're going to overreact.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to create a whole different set of problems.
Well, it's going to give them the whole Avengers 2 problem if they're not careful.
Yeah.
Where there's a bunch of stuff in that movie that Joss Whedon never wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes for a bad movie too.
Yeah.
And I think part of the problem with Batman v Superman was Zack Snyder, and I was not excited that he was doing Justice League,
and Ben Affleck, because he's Ben Affleck, so there's people like me that are like, I'm not going to go see it. It's got Ben Affleck.
You haven't even watched it yet. Yeah.
I still haven't, no.
Right.
Ben Affleck's the best thing in that movie, which is insane.
There you go.
Really is. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's true.
By the way, watching, the internet reaction to that movie is mind-boggling, because people...
Well, and is it kind of over, or it's still in town? And I'm like, Are people still paying to go see it?
Yeah.
Is it still making tons of money?
I don't think it's making tons. I mean, it's made a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean, like it made a ton of money when it first came out. But I was thinking it's got to have tapered off to almost non-existence at this point, right?
It dropped quick from the first weekend to the second weekend. It had like a record-breaking drop in attendance.
Yeah.
But
It's because you take some of the best characters and then ruin them. Which reminds me, I saw a thing on the internet. I didn't share it though, but I should have. And it was, Batman was looking at a newspaper article written by Clark Kent, and it had his picture on, and it had a picture of Superman. He's like, God, he's such a nerd, and he drew glasses on him, and he's like, oh, it's Clark!
Yeah. Oh, I did see that somewhere. Yeah.
I don't think I have seen that. That's pretty good.
Oh, so funny.
Sorry, yeah, I kickstarted a whole new conversation about movies, huh?
No, that's okay. Yeah, we should end this.
Let's end this now!
Could end this.
Whose side are you on?
Civil
War.
I'm on Spider-Man's side.
That's a good one.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know the particulars, really.
Team Watcher.
Actually, I think I jump-started that movie talk because I was like, oh, and then also DC movies.
Yeah.
And I've been reading old X-Men. It's been very enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
Some Chris
We should
Claremont
get into
stuff.
some old X-Men talk sometime, but not now.
Not
But
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I get a little further, I'll have a little bit more.
I don't think I could do X-Men really well, unless maybe I should start from the very beginning, so that.
Oh no,
Not the very beginning, but
No. Remember Stanley?
I have. Yeah, you remember? You remember?
I do.
Bring on the bad guys. Yeah.
I have the place though.
Okay.
I just started at a recommended beginning.
Yeah. Claremont is considered.
Giants.
Is it John Byrne and Chris Claremont? Is that the duo?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just there's too much going on. But then again, I was trying to read like at least 2 different ones, and there's too many people, and there's too much. There's too much.
Well, that's just X-Men.
All the things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I wanted to go back to a simpler time, and then I
It'll be
know
a little
who they are when I move ahead.
Well, I mean, there's still too many characters, but it'll be a little simpler until they start adding more books, and that just doesn't stop.
Until the 90s happen.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think even the like stuff I'm reading, I think eventually they do split that off into 2 books that Claremont is writing both of, which is the problem you had with All New X-Men and Uncanny X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Michael Bendis was writing both of them, and they were both good, but he was writing them both, so you kind of had to read both, and that's where you started running into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It seems like it's just built into the X-Men at this point.
Yeah, I have issues when I'm reading multiple comics with the same people. I get confused.
Multiple issues.
Uh-huh.
That joke's never been made.
This is Randy. I'm gonna make him a Grawlix he can't refuse.
This is Melanie. Fasten your seatbelts. It's gonna be a Grawlixy night.
This is Jesse.
No offense, Mr. Miyagi, but I don't think you understand my problem.
Miyagi. Understand Grawlix. Perfect.
Thank you for listening to the Grawlix Podcast. The Grawlix Podcast is a production of Electronic Media Collective and Vorpal Arrow Studios. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. To hear more, visit GrawlixPodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook at Facebook.com/GrawlixPodcast and like us on Twitter at Twitter.com/GrawlixPodcast.
Maybe it is Usagi. Submitted from Japan.
Usagi?
No, Usagi.
I don't like the way that sounds.
Usagi?
It should be Usagi.
That's what I thought too. Oh no, maybe Usagi. Yeah. Okay.
Usagi?
Go. It's G as in go. So Gi.
Go. Gi. Yeah, that sounds right then. Usagi.
Okay. Well, whatever. Somebody's going to correct us whether we're right or not.
We're Americans. We're famously disrespectful of other languages and pronunciations.
No, and we're right. We're definitely right about Okay, so U as in udon, let's see, rhymes with blue. So U is right. And then sa, like soccer. And then G, oh, it's G, rhymes with B.
G. Usagi.
Yeah. That's what it's looking like based on this random internet page that I just Google searched, which couldn't possibly be wrong.
Nope. It's on the internet. It's gotta be true, man.
So both ways is wrong. Usagi.
Yeah,
It does have an EE on the end.
Usagi.
We can say however we want and screw it up.
I'm gonna screw it up. Usagi sounds best to me.
Yeah, it's gonna throw me off to try and fix it now.
Or all three of us can latch onto a different pronunciation and then just stick to our own.
That could be a running gag, yeah.
Well, and that's not even including character names. We're gonna butcher all this. Actually,
yeah. We'll start we'll mispronounce Glenn.
It'll
Dale.
And Dale?
So Dale, when he gets his leg cut off, it's just really really traumatic.
In volume 7 of The Walking
Andrea.
Dead. What?
I've known some
People
Andreas, and I'm like, Andrea?